Appreciate you being here. This is we would like to welcome you to the City Council meeting for February 3rd, 2026. Let the record reflect that all council members are present today. We have a special flag ceremony today. And so I will turn the time over to Ogden's Honor Guard, Police Honor Guard, for our flag ceremony.
Honor guard, halt, left face, present, arms.
Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Post, colors. Honor guard, face, forward, march.
Thank you, everyone. If you would please join me now for a moment of silence. Thank you. We now have some time for some acknowledgements. We have some listed on our agenda. First is Idle Free Month. We have some presenters to present for Idle Free Month. Lorenzo Long, our sustainability coordinator, and I think you have some folks with you, don't you?
Just me, as far as I know.
Oh, okay. Jared Bates.
Okay.
Okay, and Haley Walker. Come on up.
Sweet. Sounds good. We'll just go one after the other. All right. Yeah, thanks for having me. This is exciting for Idle Free Month. It's obviously has to do with sustainability. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about just a few things that the city administration is doing related to air quality. So I guess I can buttons over here. Okay. I talked about this last year, but we've actually made some decent progress. Thank you. In our EV charging at the city. So a couple years ago, we had no public EV chargers. This year, we added 8 new chargers. So there's several in Wonder Block, as well as a couple at the Marshall White Center. So those are great to see. And then we've also, as you can see in the photos there, we partnered with Rocky Mountain Power and Electrify America to add some fast charging stations at Union Station. And those have been great. And they're definitely having the effect that we were hoping to. On PlugShare, for anyone who has an EV, you know what PlugShare is. There was a comment, it said, great location, walked around downtown Ogden and ended up charging to 90%. So that's the kind of behavior we were hoping for, to see people coming to Ogden to use the chargers and then experiencing that downtown area, which is awesome. So that's great. Let's see here. Fleet EVs, we now have 5 or 4, soon to be 5 EVs in our fleet. That's up from 0 2 years ago. So we're kind of just slowly evaluating our fleet vehicles as they come up for replacement. If it makes sense, then we can go for an electric alternative, which those have been great, no issues, and they've been running really well, and the people who've been driving them really, really like them. So that's been good. Green Bike, this is a huge success. We added 4 new stations in 2025. That brings it up to 14 total stations. And this year, 2025, I guess last year, 2025, we had 10,807 rides, which was a 155% increase over 2024. So green bikes are getting used quite a bit, and we actually have the most busy station, single station, amongst all their stations, including those in Salt Lake. So that's the one at the Ogden Botanical Gardens. People love that station and use it all the time. And I just thought this was a cool metric. 68,849 miles were ridden on our green bikes. That's enough to circle the earth 2.5 times. So that's pretty cool. I think it's such awesome to have these in Ogden and for people to use. So really cool to see. OGX just continues to be a great resource. The reason I mentioned that here is because it's an all-electric bus, in case anyone didn't know. That's just been a great resource for Ogden. People are on it all the time. Every time I get on, it's pretty much filled with people. There's a photo of some of our city staff who rode to the Intermountain Sustainability Summit in 2025 using OGX and didn't even have to think about what time it was going to come because you know it's going to be there every 10 or 15 minutes, which rocks. So that's the way a transit line should be. So I'm glad we have one in Ogden. And then we do have, actually we submitted an application for a couple of extra years of free fares. We haven't heard back yet, but I'm hoping for that as well so we can get a couple more years of free fares on OGX for everybody. So hopefully next time I come back, I'll have a good update on that. And then air quality monitors. This is something new. We partnered with a race here in Ogden. It's called the Running Up for Air race, and it's a race that kind of brings awareness to our air quality issues in this area. And they were so kind as to donate some funds to Ogden City Sustainability and Weber State Sustainability. And we kind of combined our efforts and expertise to evaluate and create a plan to put air quality monitors across Ogden using those funds. And so we have purchased those, and they'll be installing them, I think in March is when they said they're going to get here. There's been some supply chain delays and whatnot, but we think we're going to get them in March and get them installed. And those will track PM 2.5 and PM 10. So PM 10 is like dust from the lake, for example. We don't really have good PM 10 monitoring here, so this will be awesome to have that information. And it'll be publicly available for all residents. They can log on to this web portal and they can see live data from those monitors and make good decisions on days that there's bad air quality. So hopefully not have to breathe in such poor air. So that's a pretty cool thing that we'll be doing pretty soon here. So that's all I had, just a couple things on our air quality efforts, and hopefully we can continue to grow those into the future. So thank you.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Jared?
Council members, I'm very pleased to have this opportunity once again to represent Ogden School District in collaboration with this annual effort. Speaking for education, I just learned tonight that the OGX bus is electric powered. I never knew that before, so I've already learned something new tonight. The big thing that we want to start off with acknowledging this year with the Idle Free Initiative is our continued participation with having you, our council members, visit our schools to help promote this initiative. I cannot stress it enough what a big deal it is for our students to see our city council members. You may not realize the impact that you're having, but I want you to understand and I want you to know it is truly meaningful to those students to see leaders in our community show up and take a personal interest in what's happening with their schools. So thank you very much for that. We're excited to say that we've got 3 schools with visits already slated for this month, and we'll obviously continue to collaborate and look for additional opportunities throughout the month to have council members visit our schools. During those visits, we're fortunate that we'll be able to have our council members partnered up with some of our student leaders in each of those schools, handing out stickers, sharing that message, encouraging that idle-free mindset for kids to then take that. They get the sticker from the council member, turn around, hand it to mom or dad and say, hey, let's do this. I want you to participate in this with me. Along with that, during our school activities throughout the month, obviously we'll be making school announcements about the Idle Free Initiative. reminding students and our employees about that. But then we'll also be looking for opportunities within our classrooms to tie in lessons that have to do with our air quality. What causes pollution? What are the potential health ramifications that air pollution can cause for our community? So we want students to have that why. It's important. I've learned this since I've been working for the school district. Kids are a lot smarter now than they were when I was in school, and they want to know the why. When I was a kid, you just told me, and I said, okay, whatever you say, teacher. But now kids, they ask, why? Why is this important? And so if we can implement those into our lesson plans, help kids understand the why behind this, I think that will go a long way for us in changing behaviors. Now, in the past, we've always, and will continue to collaborate with the City Council in sharing messaging on social media and through our other distribution channels that we can reach our families. And primarily our area of focus has been obviously our parents, stressing specifically drop-off time in the morning and pick-up time in the afternoon. We've also touched on our employee base, and this year I want to take that a step further by doing more with communicating this, the importance of this initiative to our employees. But there's also another key stakeholder group that we have that we can reach that I've really, to be honest, missed out on in years prior. Can anybody think what that key stakeholder group is? Our students who drive, yeah. And so this year I'm going to try to implement that as well, getting those students who now it's not just, hey, mom or dad, turn the key off. Now they themselves are the key holders. They are the ones that have the power to actually implement change. So we're going to try to leverage that student group very strongly this year. And then the other thing I want to share with you is just a message from Superintendent Rasmussen. He says he loves this initiative. He loves that the city is committed to doing this for our community, to improving the air quality in our community. We recognize it's not always easy to get adults to change their behaviors, but if we can get our youth to adopt these behaviors at a young age and then carry that throughout their lives, it can lead to exponential change. And so that's our goal. We may not be able to get everybody to turn off their cars today, but if we can get our future generations to adopt those behaviors and implement those throughout their lives, we think this can be a truly impactful thing for our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Appreciate your partnership with us. Haley, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here tonight. My name is Haley Walker. I'm an environmental science major at Weber State University, currently the environmental compliance intern with the Office of Energy and Sustainability. Weber State is proud to partner with Ogden City, Weber Morgan Health Department, and the Ogden School District to celebrate Idle-Free Month this February. So here to represent those students who drive. At Weber State, we are strongly committed to significantly cutting our emissions and improving our air quality along the Wasatch Front. Since 2007, our campus has cut electricity consumption by 34%, our natural gas consumption by 54%, and total greenhouse gas emissions by 43%. And we have a huge goal to source 100% of our energy from renewable sources by 2040. This past year, it's been exciting to see the use of the OGX, which we've already heard mentioned, throughout Ogden. Our student clubs regularly utilize it with the hopes of making students feel more comfortable taking public transportation. Weber State is actively promoting the use of alternative transportation methods and hosts events aimed at organizing groups to collectively reduce their carbon footprint. In addition, Weber State's recent substation battery project is designed to provide backup power to campus for a minimum of 2 hours, enable Weber State to install more solar, and provide grid stabilization services to the local grid. So thank you again for letting me share our progress with you and for the experience of talking to you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your words. Okay. Next item we have is.
Can I just comment real quickly?
Oh, please do. Yeah,
Thank you to all of
absolutely.
these initiatives and efforts. And we live in an environment where the geography makes it difficult sometimes, for sure, with air quality. And I was pleased to see Lorenzo put his sneakers where his mouth is, and he's going to be participating in the RUFA race this year. So excited to see that, and congratulations to him, and hope his training is going well.
I think if I remember right, and I might need to have a little help from somebody who's been here a long time, but I believe we put this initiative in place. I think it was Councilmember Gochner when she was on the council 100 years ago. Well, she's not that old, but isn't that right? Isn't that who sponsored that initiative? I believe it was. And that, so we've been doing this idle free month for a long time. The little sign down on the first floor between the two elevators was when she brought in, and it started this this movement for Ogden. So it's been going on for a long time. Okay. Next item is our Ogden 175. If you've noticed the plaque on the side over there, it says February 6th, 18, what does it say? Whatever the month is, 125 years ago. So anyway, Councilmember Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Honorable Mayor Nadolski, to my fellow colleagues on the City Council, and to our noble citizens that are here tonight. Just want to say thanks for your making this an important night tonight. We want to celebrate Ogden's 175th anniversary of being a city. So Ogden was officially incorporated as a city on February 6th, 1851, becoming the third incorporated city west of the Missouri River. First, San Francisco, second, Salt Lake City, third was Ogden, Utah. Its origins date back to the mid-1940s when Miles Goodyear established Fort Buenaventura along the along the Weber River. That was recognized as the first permanent European settlement in Utah. Ogden was later named after Peter Skeen Ogden, a Hudson Bay Company brigade leader and prominent fur trapper. Ogden held its first official election on October 23rd, 1851, and Lauren Farr was elected the mayor, a position that he held for 22 years. Ogden was further transformed in 1869 with the establishment of the Transcontinental Railroad meeting at Promontory Summit, which established Ogden as a major rail hub and eventually earning it the nickname of Junction City. This marked the beginning of Ogden's transformation from a frontier town to a rail terminus. As we celebrate 175 years since Ogden's incorporation, we honor the generations who built this city, and we celebrate the legacy of resilience, innovation, and community that continues to shape Ogden City, Utah. So, to help us celebrate, we invite you to come to Union Station as part of the First Friday Art Stroll from 6 to 9 p.m. At the Union Station, museums will be free. There'll be special exhibits and hands-on educational activities that bring Ogden's earliest days to life. There'll also be live music and food trucks. If that's not enough, Mr. Chair, I just would like to say thanks to all of you for being here. We invite you to be a part of celebrating Ogden's 175th anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are in the middle of our 250th year of our country. And there's we've even got we call it the America 250 program. Ogden and Weber County are both part of this, the Ogden and Weber County America 250 program. And our special flag ceremony today was in honor of our America 250. I wanted to just read a little bit of our Constitution. It's just the preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for a common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. What a powerful document. At the time, the United States was the only country in the world to have a constitution. And since that time, almost every country that has a constitution copied ours or followed that template to create their constitution. Our constitution, the first 3 articles dictate how our government is to be run. Article 1 tells how Congress is supposed to work. I suggest we all read it once a year to hold them accountable, because we'd like to keep them according to the rules that do bind them. Article 2 is our executive branch, our President of the United States. That governs how he functions. I would recommend you read that one. And then Article 3 talks about the judicial branch of government. So our Supreme Court is covered by that Article 3. The Constitution is not very long. You can read it in a short time. I try to do it once a year, just so that I know, because all of us have sworn an oath. We stood up and we raised our arm to the square and swore an oath to uphold, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So it's important that we know what it says so that we can do that. But throughout the year, we're going to hear a little bit more about some of these things that put our Constitution and our country in place. So thank you so much for that. We have some Constitution copies
Yes,
in the back.
there are some on the back table back there.
So we were able to secure some of those. So if you don't have one and would like one, please take a copy. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, the next item on our agenda today is the request to be on the agenda.
Chair, can we have any other acknowledgements from the council?
Oh,
at this
absolutely,
moment?
yeah, absolutely.
Is that
Go
just
ahead.
the time?
Yeah, you bet.
I would just like to acknowledge that February is also Black History Month. And I would like to recognize the contributions to our city that our Black community has made, and also the history-making nature of Councilmember Washington's election. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other acknowledgements? I'm sorry I cut you off. I should have done that. Okay. Next item is the request to be on the agenda from the Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports. I think we have Brandon Flint
Hi, good afternoon.
and Stacy Bernal.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you to the Ogden City Council for having us on the agenda tonight and providing us the opportunity to tell you a little bit about our organization. So again, my name is Brandon Flint, and I'm the Executive Director for Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports. I've been in this role for about 6 months, a little over that now. Formerly, I was the superintendent out at Golden Spike National Historical Park, so I'm very familiar with that history you were referencing, and certainly a big part of Utah history and Ogden history, and great to see that recognized today. But in this new role, we at Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports, we are focused on the community of Ogden, and specifically those folks that may have disabilities in Ogden, and to help them to get outside, do amazing things that in many cases they may not have thought was possible. If you have some sort of a physical disability or mental disability, we want to take you outside. We want you to see the amazing things that we have here in Ogden along the Wasatch Front up in the Ogden Valley, Snow Basin Ski Resort, to get out there to ski and snowboard, or to get out on our amazing trails and mountain bike or cycle, or to be able to take advantage of the rock climbing. So rather than me talk about that, we have a quick video to maybe just get things kicked off here. So I think a picture, or in this case, a movie is worth 1,000 words. And hopefully what you saw there was a lot of smiles. And as one of our new employees like to say, can do, right? That's really what we are about at Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports is helping you no matter what element you may have, whether it's missing a limb or again those physical or mental disabilities. We can take you out and really help you remove barriers and experience, like I said, these wonderful things we have in Ogden and the surrounding area. So we provide year-round types of opportunities. We are snowboarding and skiing right now on the little bit of snow that we have, and of course hoping for more next year, but or next week. And then you know, in the summertime you will find us out cycling. We are out rock climbing. We are out kayaking. We're taking people on mountain bikes and those hand crank bikes and just really again getting outside and focusing on safety and independence and really confidence building. So you know, why does this matter? Because what we know is that in the surrounding area, and we really focus on 4 counties here. We focus on Weber, Davis, Box Elder, and Morgan counties. And we know in these counties alone, there's probably about 130,000 people that have some sort of a disability. And what we know is if you have a disability, more times than not, you are less likely to go outside. You're more likely to spend time on your couch. You're more likely to spend time inside. You're socially isolated in many cases. And if we're able to get to you and help you go outside, we know you get lifelong benefits, right? You get that social aspect because I'm hoping a lot of you are hikers or skiers. You know, it's a social aspect to be out there with your friends, your family, to ski, to snowboard. And so we know getting them outside provides that social stability. We know that many times when somebody learns to ski or when somebody learns to hike, you know, my dad is 74 years old and he is still out there skiing today. So we know that these things that we're teaching people, if we can get them out there, they're lifetime activities that then have those lifelong health benefits of cardiovascular and you know, help to make sure that they're not having secondary illnesses and secondary problems. And then it's also the mental health, right? Being outside, being in our wonderful state provides that opportunity for people with disabilities to just have that really wonderful experience. So beyond just the experience to the community members, to the people that are part of our community, we also focus on helping people from around the world to come to Ogden and to experience these amazing places. The #1 ski resort, I think they're still the #1 ski resort in the nation up there at Snow Basin, right? So we help people from around the world to come and experience that, to stay in the hotels, to eat at the restaurants, maybe buy a souvenir, see the history of Ogden. And we have a tremendous partner with Visit Ogden, and we're really trying to grow that relationship and grow those economic benefits as well as the social benefits to the people that live here in Ogden. So we really appreciate the support of the county, of the city, to do the things that we do, and you know, we're looking forward to continuing to grow. Last year was the busiest year we have ever had. We doubled the number of summer lessons that we had, and we're looking to continue to grow into the future. So we have some wonderful events coming up. Mayor Nadolski, you're going to be with us up at Snow Basin, hopefully on the 6th, as we have our Adapt to Thrive event. And we're also going to be celebrating an event that's a few years away, but really starting to kick off. And that's the opening ceremonies of the Italy Para-Olympics. So we've got a race going on up there, and we would certainly invite you all to come and participate and cheer on our participants as they snowboard and ski down a little race and take advantage of also those opening ceremonies. So again, we really appreciate all of the support that we get in Ogden. Ogden's our home, even though we service those 4 counties. We're thrilled to be here and continuing to help this community and help the council. So I'm happy to answer questions if there's anything that I can tell you.
Do you have any questions? Yes,
Chair.
Councilmember Myers.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
What year was Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports founded?
2009.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we started as, if you look at our history, we were the Snow Basin Adaptive Sports Education Foundation. So we started up at Snow Basin and then have grown really tremendously over the past 3 or 4 years, but we've been around for a while.
My concern with that, and not a concern, but just my observation is that for me, you were just a few years late, because we used to have to go down to Park City with a daughter of mine who had special needs, and just love what you do and seeing the video and the joy that you bring to people's faces and the freedom that you give them that they otherwise don't have is moving. And so we just want to say thanks for the effort that you put into this and express our gratitude on just behalf of us who've had children who weren't able to do that kind of thing. That's just really awesome. So thanks, well done.
Absolutely. Thank you. We really appreciate that. And I mean, right, this job pays in smiles. And that's really a wonderful thing. So thank you. We appreciate that. And I wish we'd have been there 3 years or 4 years ago. We're ready to help all those who need it now.
Yeah, I want to compliment you too. I've got several friends that work for you or volunteer in support of the adaptive program, and they all are so fulfilled by the experience of working with the population. And then in the summertime, you know, just in the last year, as you're aware, at North Fork Park, we've had a population of bicyclists join us on the trails, and it's really outstanding to have them on the trail with us. You can just, as you said, they radiate a smile that says it all. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, we have about 170 volunteers that help us do the things that we do, and we couldn't do it without them. And they're just an amazing group of people. So we couldn't do it without them, and appreciate their efforts.
Just, if I can just echo again, Councilmember Meyer's statement, you know, as having a family member who has special needs, appreciate all the work that goes on in that space. And not on the agenda, but also want to recognize our school board member, Stacy, and the work she does with Awesome Autistic Ogden, because that does make a difference. And working with our police department and so many things. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. I was actually going to say a note of gratitude to the council. I actually have a plaque at home from 5 years ago when you did a proclamation for Awesome Autistic Ogden. So thank you for that. We are again this year going to be doing that event, and it's going to be in partnership with Ogden Valley Adaptive. So historically, they have been one of our vendors at that event in April. This year, they're kind of, obviously I now work for the organization, and so I'm using it to elevate Awesome Autistic Ogden and Ogden Valley Adaptive. The work that we do is so important, and you said it perfectly. The joy. I feel like we bring joy. And I know my experience with this organization prior to coming on was that I got to take Hayden to an event where he was able to ride an adaptive bike. And that was, you know, an opportunity that otherwise would not have been open to him. And so, yeah, I live and breathe this work, and we're so grateful for the support of City Council and OPD and the rest of leadership. So, yeah, thank you for having us and helping us to spread the good word of what we do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is item number 4, is a consent to annex unincorporated property at 2101 West Hinckley Drive into Roy City. This seems really weird, but Barton will explain it to us.
Yes, good evening, Chair Heyer and city councilors. Yes, this is an unusual request. This is a request to consent to annexation of a property into Roy City. So I'll explain that a little bit. There is this little tiny strip of property that is between Roy and West Haven. It's along the former railroad line, and it just didn't get annexed to either city. And part of it is on privately owned property, and part of it's a former rail right-of-way. And the developer is wanting to develop this property, do a townhome apartment project on the property. And in looking at it, they discovered that there's this little sliver of the property that's not annexed. And so they went to the city of Roy and said, we would like to annex to it. And then Roy City noted that this is actually within 5,000 feet of the runway of the Ogden Hinckley Airport. And state code says a municipality may not annex an incorporated area within 5,000 feet of the center line of any runway of an airport operated or to be constructed and operated by another municipality unless the legislative body of the other municipality, which would be you, adopts a resolution consenting to the annexation. Now, we feel this is a very important statute. There could be many things that could happen near the airport, at the end of the airport, which we'd want to have input on. You know, if there was something with a big smokestack that would create fumes and stuff that would disturb the airport, or tall buildings or cell towers or things like that near the end of the airport runway, that we would definitely want feedback on that before a different city annex the property. In fact, we have another property that's within 5,000 feet, that we are very concerned if another city tried to annex it. This particular one, we really aren't concerned about. You can see there's quite a bit of different distance between it. There's a lot of residential development in between the site that's being annexed and the airport runway. They wouldn't be getting any utilities from the city. Access would be through other agencies, and really no concerns with airport operations on this particular property. So staff recommends you adopt the resolution consenting to Roy annexing the property.
Okay. We do have the petitioner here. Brad Brown, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Not really. If there's any questions, I'm happy to fill them, but
Are there any questions for the petitioner? I think this was actually very self-explanatory and straightforward.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions about this or a discussion before I take a motion?
No discussion. If there's no discussion, Chair, I would make a motion we adopt proposed resolution 2026-1.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Ritchie, seconded by Councilmember Graff, and this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Lundell,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie,
Aye.
Councilmember Washington,
Aye.
Vice Chair Graff,
Aye.
Chair Heyer.
Aye, that passes unanimously. Good luck with your project. Okay, we have some unfinished business. Yes, sir.
I apologize, but could we get a photo with the?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I'm so
okay,
sorry.
yeah, you
I meant
bet.
to say that, and I'm so sorry, and if now's an okay time.
Yeah, well, it's as good as any. It's better than later.
You just need a street cred. We need to show our board what we're doing.
That you're doing something, huh?
All right. Everyone looking here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yours. I can just send you this either way. Okay, let's do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It wasn't a trick.
Sorry about that, I should have anticipated.
I'm sorry for the interruption.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, we're back to unfinished business about the tabled item from January 20th, proposed rezone for 211 Patterson. So, Joe, welcome.
That's me. Thank you for having me. It's good to be with the council today. Back again. So the petition we have before you is a rezone from R4 to R5, so one type of multifamily to another type. And this is to allow for a multifamily project to occur, 211 Patterson. Just show a little background and its location. It's located on the corner of Lincoln and Patterson, just slightly north of 31st Street. Currently has an R4 zone on the surrounding north, east, and west, and commercial C3 to the south, just slightly over a half acre, and currently a vacant lot. And so let's dig into it. It shows it is all one piece of property. Does have an abutters alley that separates it from a neighboring project that's developed under the same ownership, the Housing Authority of Ogden City. I'm going to say it properly. I've been calling it Ogden Housing Authority, but that is the name. So this aerial kind of shows the location and situation. We can see to the south of the red box here, see the abutters alley, and we see the current apartment that was put in place by the Housing Authority. And really looking at the surrounding area, this was part of the criteria we look at in the general plan when considering rezone. What's the characteristic of the area? What's surrounding it? And we do have a mix of commercial, multifamily, duplex, single family, quite a mix in the neighborhood. And so that weighs into the consideration of what type of zoning is appropriate. We do see that 31st Street acts is a arterial road. It's quite a busy road, and we tend to see a lot of the commercial, though there are residential homes and units along that road. But as we look at the zoning of the property, we can see a lot of that commercial hugs to the south of the property, and then transitions into an R4 multifamily, which this property is part of. This outlines the project that's being proposed, and really is meant to function as a sister building to the apartment to the south. Access is shared through a butters alley, but provides access to parking through the site that feeds both properties, as well as providing access onto Patterson. The building is oriented towards the street, towards the corner, having sidewalks and connections and site amenities. This is the intent. This is showing elevations. These would be the same as far as building height and materials as the building that the Housing Authority built to the south. So really, again, meant to function together under the same staffing and management. So some of the provisions that the Planning Commission had looked at for the rezone, and looking at integrating new multifamily into single family developments. And so part of that is looking at having a good design with the project, and having context that integrates the building with the neighborhood. So what are we talking about with all these fancy words and this fancy talk? Basically, we're saying we don't want someone to put a building there that's going to turn its back on the community, that's going to fence right up along the street, not have any interaction or connection with the community. We want that interaction to be part of the neighborhood. If you're going to come here, you're going to be part of the neighborhood and have that design of the building contextual to that. So, you know, the Housing Authority for Ogden City has been a great partner as far as communicating that and what the city would want to see as far as design, and looking at materials and the context of the neighborhood. We also, again, look at the general plan. These were what were considered from the Planning Commission, looking at that prevailing character of the area, which, again, pointing out we have automotive, we have an antique store, multifamily, all these various uses, which supports a mix of uses in the neighborhood. The other is looking at the transition that's created. What we look at in the provisions of the general plan is having commercial zones or commercial developed properties being buffered from residential. So that's typically done through multifamily, then transitioning into single family. And so what we have here is a CP3 zone, which is our most intensive commercial zoning, and then having that transition from an R5 to an R4. So with those, with that situation, the property being located on this corner lot, Patterson and Lincoln, it checks those boxes as far as the transitioning in the zoning itself, as far as looking at those policies. So this is what the commission had looked at and had voted approval 8-0, 8-0. And then we've had various discussions with the council and work session, and some of it has been looking at, you know, the type of use and the concerns of density and consolidation. So this is stuff that the council has looked at before, but important to point out, the city, I think it's often been referred to as Ogden, we have a very big heart and we help a lot of people, but there's concern about concentration and concern about certain uses that could be detrimental in high concentrations. And so one thing to point out with this type of development is it's not it wouldn't be licensed or operated under any of our group home type uses. This is actually considered a long-term housing, though managed and ran and with some slight programming with the housing authority. So there wouldn't be any on-site treatment. This isn't a quick transitional temporary housing, though it is meant to help youth aging out of foster care to be able to grasp all the skills of life. And all of us here are adults that I can see and have experienced the trials of life and the burdens of life. And so helping them to transition to that point, but that's definitely not a short-term thing. And then again, with some minimal programming to help with that. We also looked at LIHTC properties, how they relate to this area. This was, again, things you've already looked at and seen. The only LIHTC project that we have in vicinity is really the companion to this building. That would be the Housing Authority apartment built to the adjacent south. Some other things to point out is the project, you get rezoning, but you have a project with a rezoning, and this project is looking at developing single bedroom apartments. Each unit is occupied by one individual. And so with our code, even whether this is the housing authority or some private developer, the parking requirements would be one stall per unit for that type of development. And the project is designed would meet that and could stand on its own. We also had some questions about transit in the area, and we were able to look at that and find that there is quite a bit of transit, particularly along Washington, though some on 28th, close to Marshall White, just a few blocks away. And so these routes I have listed here provide access to various areas locally and throughout the Wasatch Front. And then we look at the site, and again, I want to emphasize this, the property is intended to be designed similar to the Solis apartments that have developed. And this shows that some of the concerns that the council has raised and that's been discussed is dealing a lot with some of the security measures, individuals coming to visit the site, smoking on the site, things of that nature. Our administration has been heavily involved with the community, and that's part of why we've had this on hold, is really to have an opportunity to gather what are the concerns, what are the issues, and it's not something that we've taken lightly, and a lot of effort has been put to really build what I would call a good partnership with the Housing Authority, and to put some agreement together to have them be a part of our community and to be a good neighbor where they come. So if you walk the site, I had a fun time. I was kind of thinking of like Where's Waldo, like hunting all the cameras on the site, and it wasn't that hard. It was actually the easiest Where's Waldo I ever played. There's cameras everywhere on this site. There's more right there, even with the sky. And so that's one thing that the project will implement the same kind of security measures, and something we felt was important to be able to monitor the activities on the site and around the site. And so those are in place. Also at the entrances. The entrances as well also include security access, so not just anybody can come inside and hang out and loiter around. There's got to be a purpose, and there's a check-in, and there's structure to it that is not typical of what you would find in a long-term multifamily apartment kind of development. Other concerns was, what's it like at night there? Well, I think it's beautiful. I went and visited one night, and there's a lot of exterior lighting. And lighting's a tricky one because you can overdo it to the point where neighbors aren't too happy with all the light that's coming onto their property. But this is an appropriate lighting where we have directional downward facing lighting, which is what we like to see. Yet we can see the site, we can see what's going on in the parking lot, we can see what's going around the building. And so, again, also smoking behavior. There will be designated smoking on the site, and so just want to kind of show that layout. So, what's happened since last time? Well, the Housing Authority put together a memo of a commitment of this partnership that they want to have with the city, and I know that the council members were sent this, and this outlines some of those things that they currently already do with the one site that are willing to improve and step up on, and those dealing with security of the site, video surveillance, exterior lighting, those would be maintained. Security and staffing. So apartments aren't required to have those, but this one would, and be able to monitor the site. Also, be working with case managers. These are people, mentors, really to help these adulting young people to be able to get on their 2 feet and be able to be responsible adults and be independent. Partnering with our local law enforcement, and I know our police chief has been heavily involved with looking at the site and giving love and attention to the neighborhood as far as things that could be addressed. Again, neighborhood involvement, and they want to be good neighbors and be able to communicate with them. Having a strict visitation policy, enforcing loitering, drug use, even marijuana, if it may be legal, they still do not allow that with their tenants. Just tobacco products. And then site enhancements. So again, we kind of showed that, and that's kind of where planners geek out on that as far as the design, and we've kind of gone into that. I won't bore you with any more of that, but really having some of those design elements. The other was some landscaping, and that was some input we got from the community. Talked with the Housing Authority. They've actually today have already been clearing a lot of that on the east portion. We want to have good landscaping, but we also want to have some visibility for security and monitoring. With these commitments, administration and staff feel this is pretty much 95% of addressing what we want to see happen. There's a few additional things that we have recommended along with these recommended security measures that are being proposed by the Housing Authority. And these are things, frankly, that they already do, but and are willing to do. And I've discussed this with the Housing Authority, and they have no problems with these 4 additional items that further coordination with police chief and administration, looking at making sure these background checks are performed on all residents, We want the facility to be registered under the Ogden City Good Landlord Program. It's a good program we have. I don't know if many of you are familiar with it, but the intent of it is to provide training and education to landlords, people who rent out properties. And the intent behind it is to educate them on fair housing rights, discrimination issues, but also criminal activities, zoning requirements, property maintenance, things of this nature. And being part of that, they commit to following those rules established in the Good Landlord Program. There's also a carrot involved doing that, and they do get reduced rental license fees for participating in that program. So right now, I believe we have about 1,300 landlords that have gone through the program. Those landlords may have multiple properties that they own and operate. And then finally, to facilitate the facility coordinate with Ogden City to ensure Ogden residents have first priority as tenants in the facility. So that this isn't just a facility that's used by people outside of the city, but those who have those needs locally have first dibs, so to speak, to be able to use that facility. So with those, staff feel we could develop a agreement with the Housing Authority to be able to secure these measures and help to mitigate potential impacts to the community. We would ask for approval of ordinance. So this approval from the recommendation of the Planning Commission would involve a twofold. If the council feels that this is the appropriate way to go, we would be an amendment. So there'd be a motion to approve amending the petition and the ordinance that's before you to include establishing this agreement and these mitigation measures, and then, of course, taking a motion to approve that amendment. So hopefully I've explained that.
Any more
Not too
questions?
boringly.
Yeah, any more questions for Joe?
I do, yes.
It is out of turn. Sir, could you please say it? This is not the time for public input.
Because we have not been given an opportunity for public comment. I would invite you to stand with me. Those who oppose Rich Heyer as chair of Ogden City Council. Rich Heyer is a known far-right Republican who will likely never support any initiatives to limit ICE jurisdiction in Ogden.
Sir, you're out of order.
As a candidate for Weaver County Commissioner seat A on a Republican platform.
We would ask that you would be
Excuse
quiet
me.
until the right time of the
Excuse me,
meeting.
we have public comments. We are going to put out if you, yes, we have a public comments. We have, after election, we have a, could you take it out, please?
How can Rich remain nonpartisan as is required on the city council? Can we ask for order here?
Please, please,
Can we get some order?
order.
I'd like to take a motion for a recess.
I'd move
You
for
don't need a
recess.
motion.
Second.
Chair, you don't need a motion for a
and a
recess.
second
Aye.
for
You can take a
recess. All
recess.
in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
I oppose.
It passes.
So we're proceeding with this election according to our established rules and norms. There's nothing unusual about this process. As elected officials, we are placed in these seats by you all. You express your voice in the form of a vote when we're running for office. Once we're established in office as a council, we get to decide who amongst our peers will lead us. And we get to decide how our city council office is staffed and organized to support our efforts. We recently hired a new executive director. We established a process by which we were going to launch applications, how those applicants were going to be interviewed, and the process by which one was going to be hired. That's not a public process either. That's a council bit of business. At the State House, I might like to see somebody other than Mike Schultz, the Speaker of the House, or Stuart Adams as the President of the Senate. I don't get to voice my opposition to those two individuals. I get to vote about who represents me in the State House and the State Senate, period. You all do too in your vote for City Council. So please respect our rules and norms, which can be changed. So if there is a council member so motivated by this process to want to change it, all that needs to be done is a filing of a council initiative and conversation with members of the council about the proposed change, and then present an ordinance that would change our rules and norms. We can change it, that's no problem. But the public, honest to goodness, does not have a say in how we appoint people and elect people to support the efforts of the council in the form of leadership. I appreciate your voices, I appreciate you all being here, but the reality is this is how our council works at this point in time.
Thank you, Vice Chair Graff. I do think we have departed from our agenda. We are on item 5 in the middle of that process before we were interrupted. So we got to the point where if we had any more questions for Joe or for the petitioner.
Yes, Joe, I do have a question for you. I'm just curious if the rules under the Good Landlord Program, if there is anything in there that might disqualify a resident that Ogden Housing Authority would like to have there, who needs it most. For example, a credit check, because I think that's part of the Good Landlord Program. Could something like that, if this were adopted this way, could something like that disqualify a candidate for housing here?
Yeah, potentially.
Moving now to 6.3, bylaw 645.
Housing Authority already does. As far as for the financing, I know that it is programmed, and I don't know. There wouldn't be any conflict with a good landlord as far as how they would operate, as far as individuals and their financial and how they would financially pay rent, so to speak. But things such as criminal backgrounds and certain type of crimes could restrict housing under that, which, as far as I know, is also part of the programming of the facility.
Yeah, that part I think is already part of the facility.
Yeah.
I just am worried that if there's any sort of background check, or not background check, but credit check that could disqualify a person who really needed it, that would be a big concern of mine in following this.
Sure.
Because I don't want to disqualify someone who really needs it based on their finances.
And I totally agree with that, particularly where this is going to be subsidized. And so I think that's something that we could definitely establish in the agreement and coordinate with the Housing Authority on as part of that process. So.
I would also just like to express my concern regarding some of the summaries listed, excuse me, on our Ogden City website for the landlord requirements. This is part of the Good Landlord Program, as you've been speaking into, and Councilmember Lindell mentioned as well. First one is, and these are just this is just a summary listed on our city website, completing the landlord training program, properly screening tenant applications, background checks, and credit checks. So if we have one of our younger applicants for the housing program, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the age is between 18 and 24.
I think it was 26, if I remember right, but
Regard-
that's my memory,
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
and so don't trust me.
Thank you. So potentially, establishing credit, and if they have lower credit or no credit at all because of past lived experiences, it could exclude people from even passing the credit check to be able to benefit from this housing. And then the other two that are listed, maintaining properties free of criminal activity, code violations, and other public nuisances, being current on city business licenses and fees. So I feel that there's a bit of, in the way that I appreciate these recommendations, there's some redundancies because this is how the housing authority already operates.
Correct.
And additionally, having the housing authority and the project itself, or the housing, and having their strict background requirements and their credit checks that they do to help potential residents with their applications. It just seems like we would put our trust in them and their process that they already have established than creating more barriers of application acceptance through these recommendations.
Sure. And I think the intent with the the Good Landlord Program is really some of the other qualifications: property maintenance, criminal activity, and going through that process, though they may be able to teach some of the parts of the courses for that program. There is some benefit definitely involved with the training. As far as the one issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, the one issue I would see is potentially with possible credit issues and financing. And I think, again, that's something that could be coordinated in the agreement that we do.
Joe, I think our petitioner is here. She may be able to
Yep, she's way
explain how
smarter than
this
me.
actually works in practice.
It's not hard, trust me.
Yeah, so don't go away, but
Okay.
we might have a little.
Hey, Margarita. Hi, Miss Noreen.
Put me in order.
No, we do follow the Good Landlord Program. We run the credits. Typically, what we're looking at is if they owe landlords, if they owe current utilities, which current utilities isn't an issue with this one because we'll pay all of the utilities. But as far as owing back, the goal is to get them in, get them budgeting classes, and pay back debt if need be, to contact the creditors and try to make a payment arrangement. But but it wouldn't necessarily say no. There's always an appeal process.
Marquita, could you move to the microphone?
Oh, yeah,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Sorry,
There's
probably me. I'm large.
There is an appeal process if they were denied for credit. So everybody has a right to appeal for a denial. But it wouldn't hinder them living there.
Okay. Does that answer the concerns?
It would not hinder them living there?
No,
Like,
because the goal is, I mean, if they owed a back landlord, the goal would be to get them employed, make payment arrangements to pay the back debt off. So when they do go out in the community after they spend their time with us, they don't have that debt hanging over their head to make them have that barrier still. So we want to look at all of that. Doesn't necessarily, I don't look at, everything per se. If they have, $20,000 in credit cards, then we would want to address that because credit means something that they probably weren't educated with, right? So we want to educate them what credit means and how to get good credit and how to move forward and be a good steward to the community.
Any more questions?
Not for them. If anybody else has questions for petitioner.
Just to reflect back, so Housing Authority of Ogden already participates in the Good Landlord Program. And so there wouldn't be any additional barriers based on these recommendations in front of us. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Told you she was smarter.
Well, I think that there are some points of the Good Landlord Program that the landlord is in charge of deciding. And I'm pretty sure that's one of them, so, yeah, I thought it might be well if we had her come up and explain how they use that, so. Okay. All right. I think we've got the administration's proposal presentation as well as the petitioner's response. So we can now receive public input on this item.
Hi, my name is Chris. I've lived in Ogden for almost 25 years. I'm a landlord here, and my question is the rezone, do we need to decide what's going to be done with the property when we decide what the rezone is going to be? Or are we building all of these parameters into the rezone request right now?
Ask all of your questions. You've got your 3 minutes going. So, and then when we have all of the questions, we'll try and get the answers for you. Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a question, and it's just on the first priority to Ogden residents. I believe that someone during one of the presentations said there's 100 people waiting right now to get into one of these residents. And so as soon as this is opened up, it sounds like it's going to be filled. So it's really only a one-time shot that Ogden residents are going to have priority, right? Unless, I guess there'll be people leaving, but that's not the intent of this building. It's to remain full. So there's just going to be the way this is going to be set up then, unless you limit or put a quota on how many Ogden residents need to be residing in there, that's really not a very binding requirement. So.
Can you state your name before you leave?
Yeah. Laura Lewis.
Thank you.
Linda Sanchez. I actually happen to like this because the more that we can prevent homelessness, we will do better. So I feel like especially those of us that have not been privileged to be able to stay with our stable parents, the community becomes your parents. And I can't think of you talk about barriers, but at the same time, this is the same place in the city where people are talking about having too much crime and protecting that. So in a way, that just kind of helps itself. Those that really want to strive and get something, they have the support that they need. Where if you don't hold people accountable, sometimes they don't appreciate anything and take everything for granted, and you're still paying for everything. And they don't take it, they don't respect it. And then they just want more. And so I think that this is a good opportunity to help those that really want to help themselves despite the challenges that they have of not having stable parents.
Thanks, Linda. Anyone else wants to speak to this? We'll get to you, Teresa.
Sorry, that was a long walk. I'm Thordorosh. I live near the hospital, McCady Hospital, in Dave Graff's district. I love this project. I think it will help a lot of people. I think it's fantastic that Ogden's foster care kids can have a place to live and won't end up homeless in Ogden. I think it's best to have us take care of our own and make sure that our residents remain residents and have a place to live in Ogden. Thank you.
Thanks, Thor.
I'm Clancy. First, I'd like to say that I'm a social worker. I work with the elderly and disabled. They have a lot of struggles with housing as it is. Ogden City has done an exemplary job in doing its best to deal with a problem that is incredibly difficult and challenging. So I'd just like to praise the city for its efforts in working through this problem. I think this is an excellent project. These kids obviously need a little extra help starting out. This is going to prevent a lot of the concerns that people are raising, like concentration. This actually prevents poverty. We know that these kids, 28% are likely to fall into poverty without any kind of supports afterwards, these foster kids. That number drops to 16% once they, if they have these supports, if they have these housing. And so then they can gain the skills that they need. They can go out and get jobs. They can become productive members of our community. They can live here and be community members. So again, I think this is just a great project. And again, thanks to the council for being so supportive of housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the chambers that wants to speak to this? Okay, we've got oh, here we go. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Joshua Creek. I am a homeless service professional and a nonprofit professional within the community. I am firmly in support of this and any housing project that we have available that we can get put into practice for our community. The folks who would be going into this home would be coming out of it with a completely life-changing experience and being able to, as was said earlier, really start over new in a way that they hadn't done before, that wasn't there before. So I do strongly support this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, we got another one.
Hello, my name is Cameron Schertz. I used to work at the Boys and Girls Club as well as the YMCA, and I want to express my utmost support for this initiative. I think it is a beautiful initiative, beautiful way to give housing opportunities to people who are often failed by the system when they've grown up through foster care and they don't have a lot of people taking care of them. If they're not able to immediately get a job to support themselves in the crazy economy that we have right now with extremely high rent prices, this can be incredible. So I would like to voice my support. I also would like to voice my support for a more transparent and more publicly focused voting system for the council chair.
Thank you. Okay, online we've got Teresa's iPhone.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for taking my call. This is Teresa Bramwell. I have a few questions about this project. It sounds like a good thing for Ogden, but I have to make some assumptions because I have never been a professional in this industry and I don't know how a project like this works. So my first assumption is that all of these people will be paying a reduced amount of rent and not a market value amount of rent. If that's the case, what inspires them to leave? Or is this going to be people that move in when they're 18 and leave when they die? My other question is, with the criminal background checks, you've said that there's no drugs and no criminal activity allowed on the property. I know from experience, because I own a property that's nearby this type of property up on 25th and Monroe. It's not for young people, it's for regular adults, but I have had an enormous amount of crime being the neighbor of a subsidized property. And I wonder if there's any safeguards for the neighbors so you don't have friends of these young people who can't qualify to live in this unit but are just hanging around outside as their homeless friend, and they end up, you know, smoking whatever drugs on the neighbor's property after they've broken through the fence. Because that is exactly what I have experienced on my property. I have been inundated with crime that's coming from people that live on other properties or friends of those people. So how will that be mitigated so that doesn't happen on this property? My other concern is what is the percentage of renters versus homeowners in this neighborhood? I'm concerned of concentration of poverty in all of Ogden, especially East Central and this neighborhood where this property is going. So I just have those few questions. Otherwise, I think it's nice to give people an opportunity, but at what point is the opportunity taken away if they squander the opportunity that they've been given?
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another hand online, Taylor Kay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Taylor. I am here to comment on this project. But more importantly, I'm here to defend my neighborhood. The previous commenter said something about my neighbors who are involved in a youth development program, and they're actually way better neighbors than I found Teresa to be. They don't have derelict property. Their windows are not boarded up, and they are not they're not unpleasant to talk to. And so I really want to emphasize the humanity in our neighborhoods and just also emphasize the hypocrisy in this vote tonight regarding this project. While I do support this project in spirit, the people voting for this project also voted against the Aspen House. And the Aspen House was a similarly developed project for a different population, and you said no. So I just need everyone to remember that. Also, I want to raise something that happened today as I walked in this building. I was filmed by Luis Lopez, who is the community engagement director for this administration and the best friend of this mayor. I want to raise this because this is a clear intimidation tactic.
Taylor,
he also filmed me and my husband as we sat.
In public
No,
comment.
no, no. This is appropriate because it's a conflict of interest, Chair, and this is a project involving community engagement. It's community engagement. Did you not reference community engagement? Are you stopping my time while we have this conversation, Chair?
I'm asking you to comment on the 211 Patterson project.
And I am asking how community engagement in this process is being valued when the person responsible intimidates regular citizens coming to engage in the democratic process. It's pretty disappointing that a staff member would be allowed, especially someone who bears the title of community engagement, to intimidate me and my husband that way, Chair. And the fact that you are about to take a vote regarding your chair position when you endorse this mayor, when you endorse this other person who was a previous council member and now being paid by this city, there is clear conflicts of interest in this meeting tonight that you are not acknowledging. And you can please consider this as my comment for this project. I'll see you again at the end of the meeting for my 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think that concludes the comments. So we do have an additional step on this one. If are there any questions? Oh yeah. Oh, well, let's talk about. Thank you for that. So we do have these questions. Laura asked how the people cycle through. I think if I remember right, and please correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Marquita, you'd be the one to ask or answer this question. I think that you told us another time that these residents kind of cycle through about every 18 months on the average, or is?
That's the goal. That's the goal, to bring them in from homelessness and within 18 months, put them back in to the community, paying fair market rent, or qualifying for a LIHTC rent, paying a little bit reduced rent. But the goal is to get them in, get their needs met, and get them out as quickly as we can with the tools they need to be successful.
Okay. And there was asked about the reduced rent, so you come up with a rent based on some calculation, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so it is subsidized through the Housing Choice Voucher, and it's based off 30% of their income. So their gross income. So if they have Social Security, their rent should be around 210, depending on the amount of Social Security. If they have zero income, then their rent is zero. But the goal is to get them employed and get them out in the community.
The question was asked, and I think you answered it in there, but why would they ever leave?
Well, they don't have to. Some are going to take a little longer than most. Some have a little bit more barriers, a little bit more trauma to navigate through. But with Kristen on board with Youth Futures, the goal is 18 months for the ones coming in.
Does it usually follow that process pretty close?
She says it's about 83% of her children that come in is out in the community in 18 months, and they do not fall back into homelessness.
Great.
So that's the goal.
All right. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any more that you would be the one to ask her.
Wondering if how this population maybe differs from the Aspen Care Facility. I don't know if I mean, that's even really irrelevant for you to answer or comment on, but maybe Joe.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that project.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back, Joe.
Hey, it's good to be here. So I wrote down some things. Someone was asking about the requirements that we had posted in there for mitigation and how those are connected. Is that with the project or with the rezone? And it actually would be tied with the rezone. That's why we're recommending the amendment to add those criteria and then approval of that amendment. So two-step process. Ask about.
Let me see. While you're talking about that one,
Yeah.
The if we do this rezone, and for some reason they don't go through with the project, what happens with the rezone?
So the rezone would still be in effect. So it would just be an R5 zoning.
Okay, it would not revert. Okay, all right. Okay, now go to
Good question.
Yep.
Yes. Reduce rent, safeguard. One was with safeguards with neighbors, protections, and I think just to answer that that's the reason we've done this engagement with the neighbors and generated these conditions is to help protect the neighborhood. So I think that would answer that question. And then you were asking about the Aspen Care Center. So yeah, that's a totally different project, different neighborhood. That process was not a rezone. It was a proposal for a change of non-conforming use, so different criteria, and with it being a housing authority project coming to the council for compatibility with the general plan. And so it was a totally different process, different project. I worked with Andy Beatles at the very beginning. I can say that project did morph over time, and working with her is very different than this one. The Housing Authority of Ogden, Ogden City, they've been very upfront and very clear on the intentions of this project, what it is and what it isn't. And so I would just leave it at that.
Okay. Do you happen to know what the own versus rent percentage is in the area?
I don't. I only know this, like the citywide. We're slightly above the state average, but yeah, this area I'm not sure. we'd have to look into the census data, but I imagine it's pretty consistent with much of the city.
And the question was asked, how will crime be mitigated here that,
And I would say that's really what these conditions in the amendment were asking to implement, with the security, visitors, control, entry, monitoring, background checks, good landlord. I mean, again, when we mentioned this, some of this was redundant, but it's really to just pretty much nail the lid shut, saying, with these measures and this agreement and partnership with the city, we feel working with the Housing Authority of Ogden City would be able to mitigate those potential impacts. In fact, I would agree with some of the statements in reducing some of the issues we have with crime and homelessness as well. So,
okay. Any more questions for Joe while he's here?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. If you
Okay.
All
I
right.
was going to ask, before you go into your comment, there was a neighborhood outreach,
Yeah.
and 3 of our council members were there. I wondered if you had any input from that neighborhood outreach. What, you were there?
in the meeting with administration or the outreach? Outreach,
Yeah, it was-
council member Graf
was,
went to my
I think
neighborhood.
it was Saturday, that gathering Saturday.
No, it was for another thing.
It's for, sorry.
Oh,
It's for
oh,
another thing, yeah.
I was mistaken. Okay, sorry
Yes,
about that.
yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay, great. Okay, any other comments, questions,
I
concerns?
have comments.
Yes, go
I
ahead.
just want to say, I push on tabling this rezoning because this neighborhood needs love, a lot of love, like the other neighborhoods. And we, thanks to our mayor and Luis Lopez, we met with them last week. Was a tricky time, 3 p.m. Everyone works. So we try to elect someone from represent every area from this neighborhood. Issues has been addressed already. Luis has been in constant contact with me and other members of that neighborhood. And I just want to say thank you, because one of the comments was very impressive. One of my neighbors say, I felt after the meeting, I felt like I was in the White House because all the important people were there. So that is the importance of being listened, to share these concerns. So I'm very happy for that. We have more police enforcement in the area. The weekend, they are removing trees, old trees that are damaged in the property of 211. So, and it's still working. It's a process. It's not for a tomorrow result. It's going to be a process. And the neighborhood and the people and I, we are very grateful with the mayor and Luis. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to share a comment too, if I may, please.
Sure, please do.
I just want to take a moment to express my support for this rezone project. I think the Ogden Housing Authority has identified a very important segment of our society that are very vulnerable and fragile and need our support, and that is those youth aged 18 to 24 who have timed out or ended their foster care support. And the process that the Ogden Housing Authority will be putting through in conjunction with other organizations will be to support these young people, these adults, men and women of that age group, and to provide them with housing, to provide them with social support, and the kind of support that they need to help them to be successful in life, which they may have never had before because of the background of where they came from, just instability in their personal life, which led them to be in foster care. And so I just applaud Ogden Housing Authority for that. It's been mentioned how they will reduce homelessness and provide educational opportunities and work opportunities. So this is really an amazing development. I think Ogden Housing Authority has demonstrated that it has great stewardship and mentorship, and they have an excellent plan. I appreciate Councilwoman Lopez for her support and input into this project. I think it will be invaluable as it moves forward, and just applaud you for that. And on a personal note, in my personal ecclesiastical duties that I've held over the past 18 of the past 24 years, I've worked directly with youth of this age. And I would like to say that the vast majority of who I've worked with have incredible family support. And they come from outstanding backgrounds. But there are a group, there's a small segment of that group of 600, which I served with for 3 years, who come back to a situation of where they have absolutely no parental support, no community support, and they don't have a resource of where to go. And so for that very reason, I support this, and I just applaud the direction and the vision of the Ogden Housing Authority and express my support for the project. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other comments? I do feel like it might be appropriate at this point. My wife and I are the proud grandparents, foster grandparents of over 70 foster kids over the years, and we now actually call one of them. She was adopted into the family and has given us 3 great grandchildren. So we are very near and dear also to the foster program, and we have seen its functioning. I do think there's some work to do in the foster program, which is making a need for this thing that we wish we didn't have, but we do have the need. So I'm kind of in favor of this project as well. So what we have before us, though, is since the original proposal did not have these 4 items that were agreed upon by all the parties now, we've got to amend our agenda. So I guess we don't have to, but we talked about it in the work session that we agreed that it was probably a good idea to amend the ordinance.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, I'd like to make a motion that we amend ordinance 2025-40 to include direction that the administration enter an agreement with Ogden Housing Authority outlining additional steps for enhanced safety and security at the development located at 211 Patterson Street, and which include the following 4 conditions. That background checks be performed on all residents, the facility be registered under the city Good Landlord Program, the facility follow the rules established under the Ogden City Good Landlord Program, and the facility coordinate with Ogden City to ensure Ogden City residents have first priority as tenants of the facility.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Myers, seconded by Councilmember Ritchie. This is a voice vote to amend the ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we adopt ordinance 2025-40 as amended.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Myers, seconded by Councilmember Graff. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Lundell,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Aye.
Councilmember Ritchie,
Aye.
Councilmember Washington,
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Graff,
Aye.
Chair Heyer.
Aye, that passes. That's been on our agenda off and on for a while now. So
Thank you
it's
so
good.
much. I really appreciate your patience, honestly. Thank you.
Yes,
And
thank you so
everyone.
much.
Administration, fire department, police, everyone. We felt like a White House.
Yeah, it's nice to get that one.
I know.
Get that one solved at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah, and we look forward to great things. All right, the next item on our business is new business, the election of council chair. I'll open the nominations for council chair.
I'd like to nominate Rich Heyer as council chair.
Okay, do we have any other nominations? Okay. Only having one, I'll make comments that any concerns that I would sway the way we do our work here at the council are unfounded. My strong personal belief is that all the voices in our city should be heard. And as all of us council members, have been elected by our population, we all have the same amount of authority, and so none of us have more than the next. And it will be my intention as the chair to make sure that any council initiative gets the light of day and the chance for a good vetting. And I also will commit that I will not kind of stack the agenda. I never have before, and I never will, in the future. So those are the things that I will give you my promise.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to open the nomination for public comment.
Second.
We have a motion to open up for public comment and a second. This would be a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
That fails. Okay, so I'll accept a motion to select council chair candidate.
Chair, I'd select, or make the motion to select Councilmember Heyer as our council chair.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Ritchie, second by Councilmember Graff, to select Richard Heyer as the council chair. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Myers,
Aye.
Councilmember Ritchie,
Aye.
Councilmember Washington,
Nay.
Councilmember Lopez,
Aye.
Councilmember Lundell,
No.
Vice Chair Graff,
Aye.
Chair Heyer.
Aye. That passes. I'll now open up the nominations for council vice chair.
Chair, I would nominate Councilmember Dave Graff as our council vice chair.
Second.
Have a motion by, well, that's just a nomination. So do we have any other nominations? Okay. Councilmember Graff, would you like to make your comments?
I appreciate the opportunity to play this role. This will be a learning opportunity for me and an opportunity to provide and serve this council, both as a whole and as individuals. And I invite input from the public at all turns. I said earlier, I'm glad you're all here, and I'm glad you bring your voices with you. And please continue to share your voice with us as we move into a council with new leadership and new council members. We need that, and we look for your direction. And I look forward to serving in the role of vice chair. Thank you very much.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to open the vice chair nomination for public comment.
Second.
We have a motion to open the nominations for public comment. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
No.
Nay.
In the opinion of the chair, that fails. All right, I'll look for a motion to select council vice chair.
Chair, I would motion that we select Councilmember Graff as our vice chair.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Ritchie, seconded by Councilmember Myers to select Councilmember Graff as our vice chair. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Ritchie,
Aye.
Councilmember Washington,
Nay.
Councilmember Lopez,
Aye.
Councilmember Lundell,
No.
Councilmember Myers,
Aye.
Vice Chair Graff,
Aye.
Chair Heyer.
Aye. That passes. Not much fanfare with this, is there?
No, I expected trumpets or something.
Yeah. Okay, well, we now have the administration of oath
Chair,
of
do
office.
we get a chance to make comment after that?
Well, certainly after we get through this point.
Okay, perfect. After the oath of office.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess you're going to be on the duty for that, Jason, huh? Okay. Oops. Sure, you bet. Okay. Thank you.
If you both please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So did you want to make comments before public comment? You're going to have comments at
Yeah,
the
I'd
end of
just
that
like to
anyway,
explain
so-
the vote. That's
Okay.
from what I understand. kind
Sure.
of
Oh, yeah, it's
typical.
customary.
Yeah.
You bet.
I would like to just speak a little bit into the process because this was a new process for me too, and basically this process is a process for the council to be able to count to 4, and you'll notice that there was no other nominees, and that's because through the process of having discussions, we found out that these were our council members who had the votes at this time. And I look forward to working with the chair and the vice chair and to progress our city in positive ways. I really do. I'll say the same thing I said before in explaining my vote is that I don't feel that this leadership necessarily reflects the will of the people in the last citywide election, and that's okay. Every one of our representatives have the opportunity to reflect on that as they made their vote as well. That's just how I made my vote, and that's why I wanted to just make that clear.
Thank you.
And Chair, I'd just like to add that I appreciate the level, what has risen to the surface is the conversation about the transparency of our rules and norms and reiterating that to our constituents. And then additionally, how the nomination and the voting process goes. And so we talked a little bit about that in the work session, and it's floated over here. And so, and we've heard a lot from our community through emails, through texts, through voicemails, during the meeting and during the meeting. But I want to say it's appreciated, and it's brought up some other conversations about council initiative to examine those rules and norms when it comes to this process. So a lot came to the surface today, and I'm appreciative of that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, this is now public comment. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding your concerns or ideas on any topic. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if you could form a bit of a queue so that it kind of minimizes the time between speakers. And don't forget to let us know your name.
I wasn't sure if I was going to say anything since I do have the stuff to begin with, but the meeting this evening prompted me. 2 thoughts come to my mind
Your
as
name,
I look
please?
around what's going on here. Yes, sir. First, I'm James Humphreys. I live up behind Ogden High School here in town. But the 2 things come to mind over all the years of things that I've done politically on the Hill in Salt Lake or locally. The first is those who show up make a difference. Whether or not they realize it at the date and time when they're there or when they're talking with anyone, those who show up make the decisions. That's the reality. And I'm grateful that everyone attempts to participate in the process, and I wish more people did because it would help us make better decisions. Second, it's no secret to any of you, or well, to half the people in the audience, that, you know, I'm a crazy openly gay man. And in the decades that I've spent down on Capitol Hill lobbying for various things over the years, Gail Rosika and I, obviously, with the Utah Eagle Forum, disagree on some very important issues. But I might be arguing against something she vehemently stands for while we're sitting on a committee meeting one day, and the next day she might be my ally on another issue that's really important. And so in the time that I've spent, what I have found is that we're all rowing in the same direction. We all have the same goal to make things better. And while I have issues with what happens at the federal level or the state level or at the local level, what matters is that we all talk to each other constantly and keep those lines of communication open. And if we do that, not only can we be better friends, but we can disagree better, and that will make life better for all of us. I don't want to see Ogden City torn or turned into what I've seen at the state level, and certainly not at what we're dealing with currently at the national level. We deserve better. We are better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Humphries.
I'm Thordorosh. Yeah, I'm Idris further. This speech was originally This was originally written to be to persuade Dave Graff to run for chair. Obviously, that did not happen, but I'm going to read around those parts because I still think there's some value. I do not want to see the nonpartisan Ogden be divided by partisan politics. I do not like the roguery behind the backs of counselors. It is immoral, but beyond that, it lacks transparency. Resolutions and action should be visible in front of the council and in front of the city. I know that every single one of the counselors are concerned about safety, and specifically the safety of our community by the threat of ICE. I know that many do not want the police department to make deals with ICE, and I know that the mayor and chief of police in front of the council has promised that collusion would not take place. And so far there hasn't been. I know that Chair Heyer will be a fine chair for financial and physical matters, that the budgets will be well handled, but I feel that Ogden is under threat, a threat nationally, and that we need to protect our communities from attack. That we need to make the decision on how to protect our residents. That if we have to make a pragmatic decision in favor of quietness or a decision on the basis of being loud and standing on Ogden's pride. I believe that we are between a sort of gathering of firebrands and a gathering of pragmatic managers who want to manage the city correctly. And I think that we have to somehow bridge this divide between managers and firebrands, and that this is going to be an ongoing process. And I was originally going to argue that Dave Graff would be the best bridge between these two, but that obviously didn't happen. That we must balance the dream of Ogden as a representation of the best parts of Utah, a representation of a desire to protect our communities, a desire to have just virtue, Ogden virtue, and to be a shining light across the United States. Because if Ogden did become a sanctuary city, that would be national news. That would be why it's so dangerous, is because Ogden would be a shining light of virtue that would bring darkness to it. And we have to make the hard decision between being that lighthouse and facing the consequences of doing so.
Thanks, Thor. Go ahead, come on up.
My name is Josh Creek. I introduced myself earlier, but I just wanted to start my comments by saying to the chair and vice chair, congratulations. You are my neighbors. I trust that our community is under your care. I did email this morning in concern, and I do hope that you take those concerns under consideration as you move forward. I will begin my comments now. As I said, my name is Joshua Creek. I'm a homeowner, taxpayer, voter, and resident of Ogden City. I co-parent children here. I'm also a veteran of 3 combat deployments, from which I was partially disabled. I spent my civilian life serving the community, by housing homeless veterans, leading a homeless shelter through the pandemic, and fighting to alleviate poverty in our community here today. I share my biography not to boast, but rather to warn you. That is the biography of the man who will be out there with a phone and a whistle, regardless of whether you vote to make Ogden a sanctuary city. There will be other nurses like Alex Preddy out on those streets. There will be other mothers like Renee Good who are out on those streets. All of us armed only with a whistle and a cell phone. It could be one of us next, filmed from 12 different directions, smeared by Secretary of Homeland Security and Senior Advisor to the President. We know this, and yet we have made our choices. I understand the hesitation to draw attention to our community, but I feel compelled to remind you why our community has become a target. Our federal government has made a choice to illegally impose enforcement action without regard for and in full violation of our First, Second, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, Eighth, 10th, and 14th Amendment rights of our fellow citizens and in turn ourselves. The Trump administration made the decision and choice, and ICE has come to Ogden regardless. The 2 Border Patrol agents that shot and killed Alex Preddy are veteran agents that have been with the agency since 2014 and 2018, respectively. The ICE agent that shot and killed Renee Good was a 17-year veteran of federal law enforcement and a former Border Patrol agent who was part of the Border Patrol when they were sued for maintaining a practice of falsely claiming vehicles were used as weapons to justify lethal force. These were not the 1,200 Proud Boys that have been given 47 days of training and let loose upon our communities and to slip all over TikTok. They were well-trained, veteran agents. These were agents you would hope that they would send if our community wasn't a target.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. You have a good night.
And thank you for your service.
Excuse me. Hello, my name is Alvin Thurgood. I am here because my grandpa is a owner of a nonprofit called Do Good Today. His name is Gary Atterbury. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe not. I'd be surprised if you haven't. He was pulled over today and had a employee of his detained. I'm assuming by ICE, but at least by Ogden Police. I'm a little bit disappointed to hear Ogden City's cooperation with ICE. My biggest concern isn't just keeping ICE out of Ogden, but if they do get, pulled over and arrested by ICE and police, are they being allowed to have due process with their Fourth Amendment right, with an immigration lawyer? Are they allowed to be able to see a lawyer and being able to get in contact with family members that may not know if they're detained or not? We have no idea where this employee might be. They took his phone. We have no way of contacting him. We don't know where his family is. And we just don't know. We care about him. He's family to us, not just an employee. And I think that about sums it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, my name is Eulogio Alejandri. I speak today on behalf of Latinos United Promoting Education and Civic Engagement, LUPEC, as it's well known. And I also have with me some members of LUPEC, including the Vice Chair, Mr. Miguel Hernandez, who will join me at the podium. LUPEC represents families who wake before dawn to go to work, parents who walk their children to school with hope in their hearts. We represent business owners who have invested their lives in the city and neighbors who love Ogden, not in theory, but in practice. Our community believes deeply in public safety and in the Constitution of the United States of America. not as slogans, but as lived principles. Ogden's position is already very clear, plain as daylight. The mayor and the chief of police have publicly stated that Ogden will not sign a 287G agreement. They have affirmed that the police do not enforce federal immigration laws, that they follow the Constitution, and that they serve everyone without exceptions. At the same time, they have acknowledged responsibility and honestly that cooperation with federal agencies may occur in serious criminal cases. The balance matters. It is the difference between trust and fear, between stability and uncertainty, between a city that quietly protects the residents and one that draws unnecessary attention to itself. By turning a settled practice into a symbolic statement, resolution risk pulling Ogden into a national storm. Resolutions also force false choices to be labeled as either for or against immigration reform or authorities. Real leadership is not as simple. Ogden's leadership has already shown that it is possible to uphold the constitutional policing, exercise professional discretion, and prioritize public safety without grandstanding. Immigrant communities are not protected by symbolism. They are protected by trust, by consistency, by leaders who choose calm governance over performative gestures. I have an extended comments that I'm not able to read because of the time, so I will pass them out so that you can read them.
If you would give them to Brandon right there, he'd be happy to hand them to us.
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alejandre.
Hi, my name is Rachel Moore. I'm from the East Bench. In fact, I've been to dinners with Sean here at the Crawfords before. It's good to see you. I have concerns about the chair. I appreciate your honesty and the words that you've said. I would be interested in to know what that process is for why there is not more debate up here about who's going to be the chair, more transparency that way. My concern is that, situations will be tabled or canceled, and I would be really disappointed if that happened. I would like to see you uphold the oath you took today and to be nonpartisan. So that's what I have to say about that. I hope you guys uphold your station. The other thing I want to talk about is the ICE concern here. I wear my whistle. It's coming, whether you choose to believe it or not. I think with the police department saying that they're not going to sign a 287 is somewhat irrelevant when they take their people to the Weber County sheriffs where they do have an agreement. So in essence, Ogden City, by the nature of your agreements, is also complicit. So I hope that you're preparing for this. I don't think it's going away, and I don't think I'm being paranoid. I think neighborhoods need to be prepared, and I hope that you all are preparing as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rachel.
Good evening. My name is William Mitchell. I'm a recent transplant to Ogden. So I want to start by saying that I'd heard that some members of this council were disturbed at the public comments that were rolling in more recently about not supporting Rich for chair. I'm not here to tell you how to run your council, but I do know that the public wanting to express their comments and their opinions is not disturbing. I do, however, have a disturbing anecdote to share. 3 days after Renee Good was murdered, I held a sign on 25th and Washington, right over there. I stood out there for 2 hours, and about 4 people joined me. About an hour into that demonstration, a man wearing a full face mask approached me. He looked at our signs and he said, "Well, if ICE are murderers,
who should I murder next? Should I start with him or should I start with you? And we told him, we don't hate ICE, but we hate what happened, and we think that it's against the Constitution of the United States of America. Then he pointed across the street at an OPD vehicle and said, are they murderers? Should they come and murder you too? And I said, no, we support LEO. We support our Ogden Police Department. Forgive me for thinking that a verbal statement is not enough. This federal government has made it very clear that they intend to marshal every resource available to extract the greatest measure of pain on our communities, both immigrants and constitutional observers. How many people have to be murdered and executed at gunpoint to drive that point home? Because believe me, if you don't hear it, their supporters do. While some of you might be Republicans, some of you might be Democrats, we are all united. Everyone here. We have to fight this loudly and vocally. We are a blue dot in a red sea. And believe me, they are coming. They will marshal every resource. Please believe them now. It is time to prepare. Our state is trying to gerrymander away our voices. And right now, as I look around with this city council, it's possible that in the near future, you might be our only voice. And forgive me for believing that my comment should matter in who the chair is. I believe, Rich, when you say that you're going to do your best, I believe you. And I implore every single one of you to stand and project strength. Because how can you expect our Latino community to stand in strength whenever our leadership will not? That is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, William.
Hello, my name is Emily. Emily Fox. I live in Kevin Lenzel's district. Before I state the comment that I came here for, I want to thank you and acknowledge for speaking to the out-of-turn objection that occurred earlier. As someone who is new to attending these meetings, I just wanted to say I appreciate how you handled and addressed what happened. And I also want to thank the law enforcement for being very respectful as well. And also for you attempting to allow public comment. I do appreciate that. I am here to also voice my support for a proposed policy to ensure Ogden Police will not be working with ICE. I am a mixed race US born citizen, and I am now acutely aware of the shade of my skin. And it's disturbing to see what's happening in this nation, and I don't want to be concerned that if I need to call anybody for help, not for myself, but we live in a very diverse city, and if we need to call for help, I don't want to accidentally bring in a national nightmare to my neighbors. And so I think it is important for our city to take an official stance to draw a line between our local enforcement and the federal enforcement to show that you do stand with the diversity and our constitutional rights as US citizens. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
My name is Cameron Schertz. About a year ago, I ran into Mayor Nadolski at the Boys and Girls Club fundraiser extravaganza. I asked you if you would assist us in our activism, and you told me, I much prefer action over activism, and I will hold you to that promise. I will now finish the remarks of Josh Creek. The question before you now is simple and unavoidable. Will Ogden invite and support the same lawlessness we have seen follow this force elsewhere? Or will Ogden defend the constitutional rights of its residents and protect them from state violence? Will this city provide clear guidance to its police officers should a federal agent unlawfully harm an Ogden resident? Or will it place them in the position of complicity? The Trump administration has made their choice. Residents like me have made our choice. Because of that reality, I am asking this council, we are asking this council to do more than issue statements or rely on informal assurances. I am asking you to codify the City of Ogden's stated principles against ICE and against the 247G agreement in law and policy. Specifically, I urge you to formally adopt clear ordinances or resolutions that prohibit Ogden City resources, personnel, and facilities from being used to assist or facilitate federal immigration enforcement activities. Affirm that Ogden police officers will not participate in, initiate, or support civil immigration enforcement absent a judicial warrant. Require transparency and public reporting regarding any contact or coordination between city departments and federal immigration agencies. Provide explicit guidance and protections for city employees who refuse to participate in actions they believe violate constitutional rights. Principles that are not written down are not protections. They are preferences. And preferences disappear under pressure. We are here to ensure that it is clear that you were warned calmly, publicly, and on the record about the risks and the consequences of the path you choose for all of us. The choice then is now yours. Good evening. That is what Josh Creek wanted to say. If I had had a chance to have public comment before this election, I would have mentioned how Rich Heyer is a Republican who is currently running as a candidate for Weber County Commissioner Seat A. How can you effectively serve on the council when your time and attention will be swept up in that race? Why did you limit the freedom of speech in schools, government buildings, and public offices with the ban on pride flags in public buildings? Will you protect us? And will you protect the Constitution?
I'm writing your question down, so at the end, we'll cover those. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sophia Adams. This is my first time being at something like this, so a lot of learning, but I just wanted to come and say that lots of communities are scared right now. I have lots of gay friends, trans friends, Latino friends, more importantly, people that are scared for their rights, scared to go to work and be taken away driving to work. I have friends who are teachers who have students' parents taken and their parents are gone. This is not the America that I have grown up seeing. People deserve basic decency. They deserve rights. They deserve morals. I just think this whole thing is ironic and doesn't make any sense because it started on criminals or whatever, but I have a personal experience of going through the judicial system and it not working and victims not being believed. Like, I think there's so many problems wrong, and I don't think it has anything to do with gay people or Latinos or Black people or any of African Americans. None. It doesn't. It has to do with people wanting to take power and control and greed. And this winter exactly, we've seen a reaction of people over-extorting our Great Salt Lake, of course, idling our cars a lot when we don't need to do that, causing more pollution. Everything is all connected, and everything will be taken away from us from greed and money if we don't stop it. Like, the only thing we have is each other and the earth, and we're fighting with each other and killing the earth. So I think we need to bring more unity, support our communities, love your neighbor. Utah is a beautiful place. It deserves to have its residents feel safe, not to be scared to go to work, not to get picked up from ICE and then immediately flown into other states for another freaking concentration camp, whatever. They're immediately flown far away so they can't get communicated with. Like, it's not, if it was about crime and the law, we would fix our judicial system. We would do more things to care, and we're attacking minorities, not the problem. So thank you for listening.
Thanks, Sophia.
Hi, my name is Amelia Baker. I've lived in Ogden for about 10 years, and this is my first city council, so I am new to the quorum and everything, but just bouncing off what Sophia says, people are terrified. I don't know if you guys are seeing in the news. It's scary. I don't want the city to be Minneapolis, a war zone. It's terrifying. And if the police are joining with ICE in Ogden, it is going to be scary. Who are we going to call for help? And the police also have other things to worry about, other crime. They have to do other, there's not enough people to help. So I'll keep it short and simple. We want ICE out. We don't want any of that. There's no reason for them to be here. Of course, if you need to, detain a criminal that has committed laws, not just being undocumented, because no human is illegal, that's fine. But why do we have to do it in such a Gestapo way? It just doesn't make any sense. It's terrifying, and I'm scared to walk out my door and see undocumented people fearing for their lives. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Amelia.
Good evening. My name is David, and I'm a resident of Ogden. Many people tonight and many people recently have been stating their concerns about ICE roaming the streets of Ogden. Now, there have been public statements that Ogden Police and the City of Ogden will not enter into 287G agreements with ICE. That was stated 2 weeks ago at the last City Council meeting, and I was very happy to hear that. However, over the past few weeks, I've been learning that ICE already has a presence on the streets of Ogden. They are not here physically necessarily. They are here through the city's contract with Flock Security, or Flock Safety, I believe they are called. Now, I'm sure those of you on the City Council know about Flock Safety. The city last year paid $123,000 of taxpayer money to Flock Safety. Now, the obvious question is, what is it? To anyone here who doesn't know what it is, these are automated license plate readers. These are cameras throughout the city, 41 cameras, if I recall correctly, that read the plate number of cars driving by, just ordinary people going about their business, and it sends that to a database, tracking you throughout the city. And unfortunately, ICE, it looks like, has access to this database from Flock Safety. Furthermore, ICE is, or rather Flock rather, is working on a deal to integrate with Ring cameras. Ring cameras are already known to be providing information to ICE. And as further insult, these are no longer just automated license plate readers. These cameras have now been upgraded to provide facial recognition. So even if you're not driving, even if you're riding a bike, walking on the sidewalk, they are now tracking you. So, with that said, what's going to be done? What will the City Council, what will the mayor do, knowing that these 287G agreements, apparently, they're no longer relevant because ICE is already here. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Good evening, Mayor, Chair, Council. My name is Elena Montenegro Long, and this is the first time I attend a City Council meeting. And what has prompted me to be here is my fear, my concern of the tsunami that I see taking place around the nation, the ice tsunami. I am very open-minded. I do not know if a resolution is the need or if something else is the need. What I do know is that life always presents a slippery slope. And how you think something functions, when you get to the reality, it functions differently, and then it functions less than that and less than that. I did see a video where ICE was present with Ogden Police Department, and the reason ICE was present with Ogden Police Department is because Ogden Police Department called ICE when they had some alternative courses of action they may have been able to take. So if, gosh, you call ICE because it's easy to get a fingerprint and it's easy to get an identification. Yeah, you're not cooperating with ICE, but ICE is cooperating with you. This AJ's grandfather that was stopped today and the fellow that was in his vehicle that was taken, really, I wasn't there, but was it really necessary to arrest that man? Now he's gonna undergo all sorts of garbage for having been in a vehicle. So my greater concern is to have the actual practices examined and to develop policies that would protect the people of Ogden. Since all of this has started, I walk around Ogden with new eyes, and Ogden is extremely brown. Even without a resolution, man, boom, target, okay? I also wanted to say that before coming here, I was thinking as lovingly as I could about the city council, and I thought, oh my gosh, they're the Fellowship of the Ring. Please, 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 please come together and be the Fellowship of the Ring for our brothers and sisters.
Thanks, Elena. Okay, anyone left in chambers? We have to, you don't have time to arm wrestle for it, so.
I'm gonna go. As promised, Brandon, if you don't mind. I promised all the new city council your own personal pocket constitution. I just want to say that.
Your name for the record, please.
Oh, sorry, Linda Sanchez. I'm sorry. There's times that I've agreed with you. There's times that I haven't agreed with you. There's times that I like you, and there's times that I don't like you. But just know that it all comes from a place of love, and that's where we all need to be. So, with that being said, new council members and existing council members.
You mean old council members.
Okay. I challenge all of you to watch what you're doing. Not only do you represent one party, you represent another party. And what I do here in the work sessions is sometimes one side of things, but please know there's also another side of things, and that we need to come together. That means both parties. That means sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't, but we don't do it in civil discord, yes. We do it out of love and respect for each other. With that being said, I heard a quote this week that I thought was very, very good. The future does not belong to the faint-hearted, it belongs to the brave. Now that was a quote from Ronald Reagan. That was after the Challenger burst into flames when the country was at despair about the future. That's what you guys are. You council members need to bring us as citizens together, regardless if we agree with each other or not. And that we need to come together with unity and love. That doesn't mean that we get to come and talk out of turn, because if anybody needs to know, at the back, there is guidelines for engagement, and it has everybody's council on there, their contact information. And it is important for us to voice our concerns, and it is. And you know that I am going to be the first one to voice mine, because I've been here for how many years, and I haven't been quiet since the very beginning. With that being said, council, the Constitution is a real thing. And it's a citizen's obligation also to know the Constitution, because if we don't know what the Constitution says, we have no rights. But also, you need to know what the Constitution says to defend my rights. So I suggest...
Thank you, Linda. Your time beeped. I'm sorry.
Okay. Next time.
Yeah, okay.
Laura Lewis, right up front. We'll get that out of the way. First of all, I was really disappointed tonight that you guys let that go on in a public meeting. Previously, if I said one little word out of turn, I was shushed and in no uncertain terms. And I do believe what happened here tonight is illegal. And I think you guys need to put a stop to that, because it also puts fear in the rest of us that don't agree with them. And there's a few here that think because they have followers on social media, they represent the entire city of Ogden. And I'm here to tell you, you don't. Unfortunately, there's a lot of apathy with voters, and they don't come and vote when they should. And so not always the right voices are being heard. But there's a lot of people out there that disagree with what you're doing. You should have learned that on the golf course, the trail thing. How many people finally showed up after they were pushed into it? You represent an entire district, not 300, 500, however many followers you have on Facebook. We all have opinions, and they can be different, but that doesn't mean you attack somebody's character, which is going out there on, and you know, I'm not saying you have a part of it, but what are you doing to stop it? The stuff that was said about Councilman Heyer, you should be speaking out and putting an end to that. You are just, you don't want conflict, you don't want ICE, but you're creating situations, the hostility, the animosity towards each other. And you people need to put a stop to that. And I expect when I come to city council meeting that I don't have people acting like that. I have a right to come here and feel safe. And there are laws that protect that. And I can help you with that if you need it. But those people need to behave with the same expectations you put on the rest of us that show up. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Okay, I think we're to the hands online now. We have Pete Previte, if I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I misspoke.
No, Pete Prevetti here. Lived here in Ogden for about 30 years. So I just wanted to go on the record. One, thanks for all of y'all for doing your part to keep our democracy going by volunteering to be on the city council. I went to the Ice Out protest on Saturday, and when I looked across the street south of the old Ben Lomond building, we were being surveilled. And when I turned around and looked at the city building, we were being surveilled. That is not what I expect. I did not have any interaction with any Ogden Police Department people on the street pounding the pavement. That is not what we are about. We do not surveil our citizens when they are exercising their First Amendment rights. And if there's somebody that is so dangerous they expect in the crowd that they need to surveil them, they shouldn't be out where we can see them, because that kind of defeats the purpose. So I'm just tremendously disappointed, because my experience with Ogden Police Department has been overwhelmingly positive, but we really missed the mark on this one. And it just flat out needs to stop, because whether it's OPD or whether it's ICE, community policing is what works. If they engage in the community and ask for our help, and we have an actual threat, then all of us are willing to help them deal with that threat. But that's not what this was about on Saturday, and that's not what we're seeing across this country. And so I would say the same thing. You know what? We do not need to support ICE. Ogden Police Department, if they don't have the resources to deal with criminals, then you know what? Ask the community for more help. As a taxpayer, if I have to pay more, I'll pay more. So that's pretty much it, but I didn't serve my country for 3 years to end up being surveilled, just exercising my rights.
Thanks, Pete, and thanks for your service as a veteran. Okay, next hand online is Sean Bishop. Do we have you, Sean?
Hello, can you hear?
You go ahead.
Yep, I'm here. Hey, everybody, my name is Sean Bishop, Ogden resident. Happy Black History Month. First, I want to speak to the value of living next to supportive housing for youth. I live on the same block as 3 different teenagers and young adults in East Central, and those kids bring so much life to this block. They're the best neighbors that this will give chance at starting their adult life with where they'll sleep that night or not knowing where their next meal will come from. Will achieve that peace of mind. Experience tells us that they'll work to that trajectory. I welcome some commenters to support people. You're already assuming the worst and you don't really know them. So before that, as Taylor said, I'd read the we're being watched tonight. It felt bad. It felt as bad as when someone lit our pride flag on fire in the middle of the night. As bad as when my comments caused me to be uninvited from the Marshall White Center opening and speak at that event. I hope in the future that our city apparatus can create a welcoming environment for everyone, even for people you disagree with. I hope that you'll all commit to address disagreement with curiosity and not punishment. I appreciate that the mayor and the chief stated that we will not enter into a 287G, and I urge them to commit to that officially. I'm wondering, can ICE track the True Crime Center data? Can they use that or highly hackable flock AOPRs, which are concentrated in my neighborhood, where it's a bunch, by the way, where I know crime does happen, lots of property theft and things like that. And can they access it without your consent? Because if they can, they will. I read today that 92% of ICE in custody currently have 0 criminal records. It's a big problem, and I don't think we're quite afraid enough of these masked and heavily armed agents that could potentially be on our streets any day now. Some tonight have said that they don't recognize their country. I'd just like to recognize that for our black and brown neighbors, this is a country we've always known in a lot of cases. That doesn't mean we resign to fear. It means we band together and use hope. It means if you have a little more privilege than the person next to you, you step forward and you help. Like Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers. Chair Heyer, thanks for your commitment to fairness and hearing every voice. I'm confident the Ogden citizens will remember that and do to it. I'd like to urge you to reflect on your prior comments and attitudes over the years about people of color and LGBT people, on your push to ban pride flags, among other flags. Just think about those things. The greatest joy in life comes from easy bringing others. People are suffering, more people can see it now, but too many have been suffering for decades, and you have an opportunity to listen and to make real change. I genuinely hope you take it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Sean. Next hand we have is Heath Sato.
Hi there, Keith Sato, Ogden resident. Regarding feeling fear, I hope certain members of the audience there that felt fear from people peacefully protesting tonight, whether right or wrong, I hope they can use that experience to imagine the fear of people that see American citizens that look like them having their car windows smashed by unidentified masked militants, given quote unquote unlimited immunity, and being dragged into the street and disappeared from their loved ones for sometimes. That's actual terror. I know the mayor's in a tough place, and there's very little a city can do in regards to what Washington, D.C. decides they're going to do to a city, no matter how heinous. It's a tough position to be in, and I don't envy his position. I hope we can get more clarity on, in writing, of what our police force is expected to do and how we will react if this comes to that level here. I live in a home where you guys know my love, Angel Castillo. When she ran for mayor, we did a background check just to see what would show up. Everybody does that on everything. And there are 1 million people with her exact name with long criminal records. None of them are her. But they have the exact same name because it's not that uncommon. And I genuinely live in fear that somebody's going to kick in our door. And if they start dragging her out, I'm probably going to end up dead. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not doing this for show. A peaceful protest in there is not terrifying. We have actual terror and we need to address it as best as we can. So when we look back on this point in history, we can say that we did everything we could to stop it. That's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Heath. Taylor Kay. Oh. Okay. I guess we lost him. Yesenia?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. My name is Yesenia Salgado, and I am here tonight to voice my support in there being a resolution drafted to formalize that Ogden City will not support ICE enforcement. I am a proud Ogden Latina resident. I am Mexican American, and Ogden has been the only home I was born right here at the original hospital and raised by parents who taught me the value of hard work, service, looking out for one another, and speaking up when I could. Ogden has shaped who I am. I have spent most of my life advocating for this community because I deeply believe in it. Just this past weekend, I attended a community meeting filled with Latino residents from across Ogden. Many spoke openly and courageously in support of the resolution because we want the accountability. What stood out was not anger or division, but a deep love for the city and a shared hope to feel safe, seen, and valued in the place we all call home. This issue is also personal to me as a parent. I have my youngest child in school. She has expressed concern about what she hears and sees happening around her. Our youth are paying attention, and many of them are speaking up by exercising their right to a peaceful protest, asking to be heard, feel seen and safe in their own community. No child should carry the fear that we bring this stuff. Ogden has already been in the news because of ongoing vague statements that have been made, and I appreciate the making their statements at the last meeting. But as we all know, verbal agreements can change, and a formal resolution provides clarity, consistency, and accountability for future residents and for the city staff and leadership. For many families, especially immigrant and mixed status families, fear has become a daily reality. Fear of driving to work, reporting crime, or participating in school and community life. I hope that this resolution sends a powerful message that Ogden and dignity and community well-being. It shows that our city would understand its role to protect, serve, and unite, not divide. I want to thank the council members and those willing to stand with our immigrant community as someone who has lived my entire life here. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Yesenia. For those who are left online, we're having a little trouble on our end with the connection. So if you could make sure that you are talking clearly into your phone and making sure nothing's covering it up. It almost sounds like it's a little too loud or something. So anyway, we'll do our best. Our people have done the best they can on our end. So we have Teresa's iPhone up next.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. This is Teresa Bramwell. I just wanted to say that I attended the very last Sundance Film Festival in the state of Utah last week, and I wanted to extend my appreciation to Robert Redford for bringing such amazing opportunity and commerce and money and arts and protection of the environment to the state of Utah. He was such an amazing man, and he gave so many people opportunities that we would never have had without his vision. He was visionary, he used his own money, he spent his own time, he made Utah his home, and he created great things. One of the movies that I saw was called The Lake, and it was about the Great Salt Lake dying. And I'm very concerned about the Great Salt Lake after seeing that film, because what happens when the lake recedes is that the dry lake bed has arsenic in it. And I also learned during this film that Ogden City is directly downwind of the arsenic that is now blowing off the dry lake bed. I believe that Governor Cox in the state of Utah has some plans to fill up the lake by the Olympics. He said the lake would be full by the Olympics, and I hope he's correct. But I have lived in Utah and most of my life in Ogden City. I've owned property in Ogden City my entire adult life. And the lake has gotten worse in my lifetime. And what I have also noticed in my lifetime that has gotten worse is I feel like there's just too many people in the state of Utah. We've pushed too much, just too many people in a very small area around the lake. And people in this meeting are talking about codifying things and making resolutions. One thing that I would like to see with the government subsidized housing that we spoke about earlier is if people don't follow the rules and they break the rules and they commit the crimes and they do the drugs, that they are evicted from that type of housing and they can't access it again, which I think would help with too many people in the state. Anyway, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Teresa. Next person is Jessica Matthews.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, beautiful. So my name is Jessica Matthews. I'm born and raised in Ogden. I've been here most of my life, with the exception of jumping around a little bit. I am here. I'm also here in support of our Latino community and to speak out against ICE presence in our beautiful city. There are so many of us who are scared. And if we're lucky enough to have the right color of skin, we are scared for our neighbors, our friends, our teachers, daycare workers, and others in our community, and what's going to happen to us for observing and standing up for and documenting incidents that can clearly become very aggressive very quickly. All we're doing is standing out with our phones and making sure that our communities are being treated with respect during this process. And for those in our amazing Latino community, they're scared for their families, for their kids and cousins and husbands and wives and uncles and aunts, their families. That said, I would also like to see something codified to know that the city of Ogden is protecting all of its citizens. As mentioned by others, if the Ogden Police Department works with the sheriffs who are working with ICE, it's a dishonest workaround that is really going to hurt the communities that add so much value to this beautiful city. So we need to know that you will speak up on our behalf and work to protect us to the best of your ability. That's all.
Thanks, Jessica. Next person is Taylor Kay.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, yes.
Awesome. Well, I'll just start by saying that I'm in support of a resolution, but I'm also in support of more. As someone with over 15 years of community engagement experience, I want to emphasize that the solutions are in our community already. I learned of 100 people organizing at the local library to help train people to watch ICE and the illegal activity that is happening all over the country, but also happening in Ogden. So I just want to emphasize that these closed door meetings are nice, but I would encourage the people who do community engagement in this city to A, not surveil people who try to engage the city, but B, start with listening in some more public conversations. And going back to the conversation of Chair, as someone who experienced discrimination from you, Chair Heyer, as someone who served as the chair of the Diversity Commission under your leadership, I was shocked by your behavior. Shocked by your behavior when you tried to get the audience to pledge allegiance to a blue line flag, allowing unchecked behavior like Laura and Linda sitting in the front row and scoffing so loudly that I can hear it from my home while my dogs bark. And while we're talking about rules and norms, I want to just let everybody in the audience know that as everyday citizens, you're entitled to request to be on the agenda. And since Rich has made a commitment to hear everyday citizens, I would encourage you to leverage the rules and norms that exist for this council and email Glenn and your council members to present to them. You can present to up to 10 minutes, just like our friends at Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports did today. And since we have a council that wants to listen to us, let's request to be on the agenda, request to be heard. And, again, this vote against public comments before the chair vote, Rich, is shameful. And as the previous commenter said regarding your partisanship with the Weber County Commission, the people who voted to silence public comment today, it's really disappointing. And I just really look forward to seeing actions align with behavior beyond resolutions and into actual actions that prevent ICE from surveilling people in our community, and apparently the community engagement director as well. And while I'm on this, Rich, as the legislative body, I would love to know how you plan to follow up on this administrative behavior. I find it abysmally disturbing. In fact, I also want to state for public record that Carrie Gibson, the mayor's other best friend, is the city's lobbyist, and you've allowed this to happen for 2 years under this administration, paying tens and thousands of dollars to someone who is propagating a legislative agenda down at Capitol Hill. And I was really disappointed in you, Rich, that when other council members asked about the legislative process, you diffused responsibility and said that this legislative process has no participation in the legislative process at the state capitol, emphasizing that you should work through the business chamber to make things happen. Thanks. Have a good night.
Thanks, Taylor. We have one more in the chambers.
Hello, my name is J.S. Mirage, and I just wanted to allay the fears of some of the people who were calling in and had concerns over police surveillance, because I am the ad hoc de-escalation lead for Ogden. I work with 5051, with Indivisible, and with many other organizations aside, and I just wanted to let them know that police surveillance at protests, while unfortunate, is pretty common. And honestly, like, I don't get along with cops more often than not. Actually, there's very few that I do get along with, one of them being in this room. I would like to thank him very much. But what the problem is that your people are afraid. They're afraid of the police who are supposed to be protecting them, and they're afraid that you're going to sell them out to the police and to ICE and to all these federal terrorists and agents that are going around and abusing the country that they live in. And I also wanted to point out that on Saturday at the protest, there was a minor incident. It ended up being nothing, but there was an armed individual who crossed the street. Long story short, there's a firearms across the street from this building, and they have a legal license to sell an FFL. And however, I wanted to say that within 5 minutes of us notifying the police, there were 3 police sniper teams on the roof, and well, at least I assume there were sniper teams. But yeah, they had a quick response, and the police out there that are surveilling, I assume, are there to watch not only the crowd, but to watch for other threats that are there besides that for the crowd. And I'm speaking as a former security professional. That's all I wanted to say, but at the same time, I hope that you guys make the right decision moving forward and to protect your community, to protect your constituents who are afraid right now. That is all. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Okay, we got quite a few comments. Any council members want to address those? Anybody want to start?
I feel compelled to address a couple, Chair, if I may. First of all, I'd like to defend Rich Heyer as a person, as a human being. There was talk in this room this evening and over the telephone line coming in here about love and humanity and kindness. And what was out on social media was not anything but a personal assassination. Weber County Republican running for office, like it's evil? Where was the concern expressed around a Democrat, Angela Chaburka, running for State House while she was seated on this dais? I didn't hear one complaint. Rich, thank you for your service. Thank you for your willingness to lead in the face of a lot of hostility. And you've handled yourself this evening with great decorum. It doesn't discount the concerns that are expressed in this room around council leadership and about how the council functions. We'll attend to that, but I expect and would welcome civil discourse and not personal vitriol directed at any one of us on this council. It's really not worth it to us. We're here to engage with you and to communicate and to hear you and carry your thoughts and feelings forward. With regard to ICE and the fears, I get it. I mentioned 2 weeks ago that I was born in Minnesota. My brother and his wife live in Minneapolis. My brother-in-law and his wife and kids live in Minneapolis. My mother-in-law lives in Minneapolis. I've got 7 cousins and their families that live in Minneapolis. I am very familiar with what's going on, above and beyond just the video that we all see on TV. Someone suggested that perhaps the police department aided ICE in Minneapolis. It certainly didn't look like it to me. They were overwhelmed by a federal force of thousands, and that police force is 2/3 full because they can't fill the police force following the George Floyd thing in 2020. They're just having a tough time creating the culture to attract police officers to serve and protect the residents of Minneapolis. They were overwhelmed. Also, the city of Minneapolis and the council in Minneapolis passed a separation resolution forbidding the agreement 287G between the city and the police department. I don't see it having done very much good. Someone accused that, or mentioned that the city council has tabled and or canceled meetings, tabled items on the agenda and canceled meetings. In my experience, we table things because it needs more study or the proposal is incomplete. And to make a decision around something important to the city without being fully informed is irresponsible on our part. So occasionally we will table things. I thank Alicia Washington over coffee a couple of weeks ago for pointing out that, hey, we had a scheduled meeting that was canceled because we didn't have anything on the agenda. And she correctly highlighted the fact that we could have held that meeting for the sole purpose of taking public input. And I support that as leadership, and we'll discuss this to address that concern. That's all I've got tonight. Thank you for allowing me to comment, Chair.
Thank
Chair,
you,
may
Mr.
I?
Yes, please.
Mayor and member, I want to make a statement about all these proposals and everything. So, Mayor and member of the Ogden City Council, I want to take a few moments to explain why I'm opposed to the proposal resolution regarding 287G and share the perspective, and I'm hearing directly from members of our community. As a council member, I take seriously the responsibility of listening to residents, especially those who are most impacted by this decision we're making. Over the past several days, many members of the Ogden undocumented and mixed status families have reached out to me personally to share their concern about this resolution. What they have told me is clear and consistent. They feel safe in Ogden, and they believe the city has handled this issue responsibly up to this point. Their concern is not that Ogden will suddenly enter into a 287G agreement. Leadership has already been clear in that will not. Their concern is that formalizing this position through a resolution could introduce unnecessary risk and even more unnecessary fear in this silenced community that I care deeply about. Sorry. This community is made up of family members and dear friends and people I love and I care for. These community members are not asking the city to take additional action or make formal declaration. They're asking us to preserve what already exists: trust, stability, and a sense of safety in their daily lives. Several have shared concerns that resolution could draw attention or unnecessary visibility that place their families in more vulnerable position. As this resolution will only give people a false sense of security. Additionally, I believe it's important that we are careful to not promise protection that the city cannot legally guarantee. While the intent is to reassure, formal resolution can unintentionally create expectation about immigration protection to fall outside of the municipal authority. As elected officials, we have responsibility to be honest and precise about what the city can and cannot do, especially when the impact when the impact on families is so significant. It is also important to recognize that no single individual or proposal speaks for the entire Hispanic or immigrant community. Our community is diverse, thoughtful, and shared by life experience. Based on the conversation I have had directly with residents most affected by this issue, this resolution does not reflect the concern being raised by many of them. The City of Ogden has already taken a balanced and responsible approach. The mayor and police chief have publicly stand that Ogden will not participate in 287 agreement. They have reaffirmed that our police department does not enforce federal immigration law, follows our constitution, and serve all residents regardless immigration status. While acknowledge that cooperation with federal agents may occur in serious criminal cases when public safety requires. Although I'm not on favor of this resolution at this time, I do believe there is a meaningful work we can and should do together and support our immigrant community in real meaningful way. Work with local organizations to help prepare our undocumented community in the event they have contact with ICE. Continue finding funding for residents seeking U.S. citizens through our Ogden Path to Citizenship Program. Work with Ogden Police to expand outreach to the immigration community. Hold quarterly city council meetings with OPD and Chief Subi because of dialogue and community matters. Meet with Weber County Sheriff to better understand the coordination with ICE and the impact of Ogden residents. Use responsible language. No human being is illegal. Undocumented immigrants are part of this community, our community. Organize a citywide preparedness day with nonprofit and community members to support undocumented families and U.S. citizen children impacted by deportation. These are actions that build trust without creating fear. They respect the living reality of our residents and focus on care, preparation, and dignity. For this reason, I respectfully ask my colleagues and mayor to listen closely to voices coming directly for our immigrant community and reject this resolution. Let us continue governing with care, discretion, and compassion, and with deeply respect for the people who call Ogden home. Thank you. And I wanna, this past day has been awful for me. I'm not afraid, I'm not in fear from the Ogden Police Department or from the administration. I am afraid from the people. People who has been text me because I'm a Latina and I don't support this resolution. People who throw rocks in my property, my house, in the night. For first time, after 10 years that I'm moving here for the same reason, I'm afraid from the people. So right now, I'm not agreeing and I'm not support my colleagues. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, I'd like to speak into the conversation from a couple weeks ago. The Councilmember Lundell and I stated that we were working on a joint resolution. And I will start with saying nothing has been submitted. And also affirming that it would be a resolution, not a ordinance, not an initiative, but a resolution. And so as a baseline, I'll be referring to such resolution just in my comments as the Affirming Community Trust, Affirming Community Trust Through Public Safety Joint Resolution. The first thing that I want to make sure we have as a baseline is ICE has been in our community, period. And Weber County Sheriff has been in an agreement in a 287G agreement with ICE. OPD is not. So the 287G agreement is the illegal immigration reform, and this is from the website. The Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996 added Section 287G to the Immigration and Nationality Act, authorizing U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, to delegate state and local law enforcement officers the authority to perform specified immigration officer functions under ICE direction and oversight. There's an addition that says, likewise, Title 25 USC 2804E also allows federal agents to enter into agreements with Indian tribes to carry out laws of the United States, such as immigration laws. And so, again, this was pulled from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement website, if you would like to look that up. But I just wanted to give a baseline of 287G. It further states that there's 4 models within this agreement: the jail enforcement model, the task force model, which is the agreement that Weber County participates in. Again, that's the task force model that Weber County sheriffs participate in. And then the other 2 are tribal task force model and the warrant service officer. And so we have been, myself, Councilmember Lundell, and I have been working over the last 2 weeks on building out the framework of a draft to submit to the council and to council staff for review so it can follow the necessary steps. But in wanting to update everyone, including my fellow council members, the research that has been done on fellow initiatives throughout, fellow resolutions throughout our country. One I'd like to note is Elgin, Illinois. My Chicago friends will call me out for that. It's spelled E-L-G-I-N, Elgin, Illinois. And their resolution is prohibiting the use of city property for federal civil immigration enforcement activities. And the City Council passed that on 11/19/2025. The additional resolution that I've been looking through along with Councilmember Lundell is Aurora, Colorado, which is the resolution of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, opposing unlawful and overreaching federal immigration enforcement actions and affirming due process protections, which was passed 1/12/2026. And the next resolution is from Helena, Montana, a resolution memorializing City of Helena policy when federal immigration enforcement actions are present within city limits. And that was passed on 1/26/2026. So fellow municipalities across the nation are taking action with passing resolutions. There's no framework for this. There's no framework for what we're seeing at a national level. There's no framework, only open hearts to hear the fear that is rising and has been present in our community. And I also want to recognize that with the proposal of this resolution, it has brought up new concerns and it has brought up fears. And it's really unfortunate to hear that it has brought up opposition and acts of violence to my fellow council member Lopez. I lead with conversations, and in trying to give some baseline to where the framework for this resolution is coming from is wanting to share what other municipalities have done and resolutions, because we're all trying to figure it out as we go, and we're all leading with safety for our communities. And so I want to reiterate what the mayor and what the chief has said, that Ogden is not in a 287G agreement. However, Weber County Sheriff is in a 287G agreement with the task force model. And so finding the wording to make sure we continue to build out how we can best serve and protect our community is the basis and the motivation behind this resolution.
Chair, may I?
Yes, please.
So last week we have Councilmember Myers and I a meeting with the sheriff, Weaver County Sheriff. You are going to be surprised about the numbers we really have. And if someone want a meeting with him, I'm open to make a meeting with him as well, because he's open to speak with the community about those numbers. The fear stopped with education. The fear stopped with knowledge. And the fear that people feel, Councilmember Washington, is people undocumented, people who is not going to come here because they are scared to speak up, people who not show up on the Saturday meeting, people who send emails. And they send emails, pretty sure that email, they create a special email for send us an email because they are scared. So you want to protect the people who needs to be protected is the undocumented people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, may I?
Yes, please.
First, I wanted to provide an update. David mentioned Flock, and we did get an update today from the Chief of Police. I really appreciate that. And that was a result of some of our work and him presenting in council meeting or in our work session 2 weeks ago. One of the things we asked for was a transparency portal. That is up today. And so you can find that. We will try to get a link out to you, but it is up today, so you can see exactly a little bit more transparency about that. They are also working on codifying the language that where Ogden is stricter than state guidelines, and in putting that into our actual code, because I think that's a lot of the discussion today, is that putting things in code and writing really matters. I think I was invoked by Laura here. I just want people to know that, like, there's a lot of people who spoke up today. Our community is concerned. They're engaged. And it's because we're living in extraordinary times. It's not because any council member here ginned up this sort of public discourse about any of this. That's not how that happened. That's happened organically. And then lastly, I wanted to just speak into the resolution as we're talking about what it is and what we're trying to accomplish here. And we want to reaffirm the Ogden School Board their Safe Schools resolution that they passed. That was about 2017, I believe, and they reaffirmed that just last year. We want to reaffirm the 2017 resolution, the Safe and Inclusive Community, that was passed by Ogden City Council and also the mayor as a joint resolution at that time. And then we want to make promises. We want to make them accountable. I find it interesting that we passed a rezone today with conditions written, and that they were demanded that I asked the question in the work session, hey, is this necessary, or is this something we can leave to admin to work with the Ogden Housing Authority? And Councilmember Heyer quoted his dad, something about a hope and a prayer. If it's not written down.
Yeah, hope's not a strategy.
Hope's not a strategy.
Yeah.
So we're dealing in similar things here, where what we want to do is take these language, these promises, and make it into a joint resolution. Because there is a lot of fear out there, and so that is the bottom line of what we're trying to do, and it's not incompatible with what we just did on the rezone. So, thanks.
Chair, if I can take a second. Wow, kind of a long night. Those who are still here, thanks for still sticking around and being here. My thoughts are kind of swirling around a lot of different issues. I want to first congratulate Chair Heyer and Vice Chair Graff. I spent a good part of the day today responding to emails about why I would support, or why I support them in those roles. I do believe that a lot of the information put out was put out, as Council Vice Chair Graff said, kind of a character assassination, and I don't think it was fair. And having worked with Councilmember Heyer for 4 years, I speak to his character and trust his ability to lead. And again, not trying to make a political political argument about anything on this, but just understanding that his ability and commitment to lead the council in a way that I feel like is appropriate. And so I appreciate that, and thank you for being willing to do that. I think about all of us up here, we're just regular guys and gals, right? I mean, we've got elected to serve, and I think every one of us has that hope and desire to bring the city together, move it forward, and make progress in a good and meaningful way. And so I applaud the efforts of the new council members who are wanting to make an impact and a difference. When I first heard about the resolution, I thought joint resolution, but I had hearing about it here felt a little bit out of place. I felt like it might have been better to have that discussion prior to bringing it out in the public and talk through a bunch of these issues that we're now kind of reacting to. And it breaks my heart that people are walking around fearful in different areas. And it also breaks my heart that Councilmember Lopez has been targeted and had some attacks against her verbally and, in other ways. And so, I really hope that, I don't know who said it earlier, but, I love the idea that we can take off our red jerseys, blue jerseys, or whatever color jerseys, and just come together and say, let's come up with some policies or some ways to move things forward. And let's not try and get out ahead of things, but maybe be a little bit more deliberative in our process. The words that we say matter, and if we say something up here, it does have an impact. And I'm aware of that. I'm not sure I know I'm not perfect in that, and I know I've said things that probably I shouldn't have said, or maybe might have been premature, but my hope is that we can come together as an elected body and make those progress, make progress. Thank you for addressing the flock cameras. I thought it was timely to receive that update on those as well. Ultimately, I look at all of the things that we're trying to do as a city. We're doing so many great and wonderful things, and we've got a tremendous community, a tremendously diverse community, amazing people, and I'm grateful for all of that. And man, let's try and turn the temperature down and remove some of the fear. And if, I think we can agree, I think we can do two things. We can both agree that laws should be enforced, but I also think we should be treated appropriately, and the Constitution matters, and how it's enforced matters. And so, and those that break those rules need to be held accountable to that, and there's a process for that. So that's all I've got to say tonight.
Thank you. Is it to me? Where are we? Does anybody else want to take a turn first? Okay. There were several questions, and I think most of them have been answered. They were concerning the ICE situation. It's interesting if you listen tonight. If you listen to everybody, you'll hear a wide variety of opinions, and so so as a deliberative body that we find ourselves in, it's not something that's just easy to say, well, you're right and you're wrong. That just isn't how it works. So and I think everybody has good motives. I don't question anybody's motives. I do think it might be careless to do this thing as a knee-jerk because of something's happening somewhere else. We do need to be deliberative about this. Think about the unintended consequences. Think about the things that we can't, it's not easy to foresee, and weigh all of that into the equation when we do things. And that's why the council's process has come together the way it is, with an initiative process that brings things to the other council members. We can have a discussion about that. We could reach out to community members to get input, and then come back together and continue that deliberation process to where we finally find something that we can find some consensus on. And we've been very successful at that in the past through using that process. I love that process. I believe that emotion has a 0 IQ. I don't believe it's it's something that we should ignore, but it's something that we should recognize it for what it is for, or what it does. And we need to then maybe use it to drive us to be fact finders and to get information from others and to bring those things together and make a decision with our head as well as our heart. We need to get our head in this process. Okay, I was asked a few questions specifically. How can I serve as a candidate? It's true, I have put my name on the process to run for another office. That's a long process. I have no idea how that's going to turn out. It's also important to note that all of us, this council position is a part-time gig. None of us do this full-time. Well, maybe Dave does, but because he's fully retired. I'm semi-retired, so I do have time to engage in other things. We don't ask people to quit their day job to run for elected office. If it were a problem to be an elected official and run for office, nobody would run for a second term. If you think that through, okay? Because we're all elected, why would be running for the second term? So that's how I just kind of think it's a little ironic that question was even asked, but that's the answer. Well, let's see. Another thing I mentioned, Amelia said that we don't want to be Minneapolis, and I think if we took a vote, there is not one person in here who wants to be Minneapolis. I think we all come together on that. How we can avoid that is where the discussion comes. One thing I think is important, I don't know where I saw this. It was somewhere. It was a couple weeks ago, but it rang so true to me that conflict is inevitable, but contention is a choice. Historically, my experience on this council is that we live by that credo. We know we don't see everything the same, but we can respect each other's differences. And in the end, we'll vote how we feel like we should vote, and sometimes it's different than others, but we always respect each other's vote. And we leave, and we are still respectful colleagues. And I hope that will continue going forward. I hope that from the bottom of my heart. I love Ogden City. I was born in the park up on Harrison. I was raised here. It was a hospital then, but it's now a park. I've lived here my whole life, and it is what made me who I am today. I do represent an awful lot of us that are in that same boat, and so I think that voice needs to also be able to be heard. We do live in a very diverse city. We're going to have lots of different voices. That needs to be okay. We can't say, well, okay, the chair doesn't agree with me politically, so he can't ever be the chair because he must be evil. That argument doesn't really work. What is important is that we do have processes in place and interpersonal agreements that we are going to respect one another's differences and work together for the best good of the city. Okay, let's see. Taylor brought up this story that is, it maybe has an element of truth, but in the fullness of it, it is wrong. That I tried to get everybody to pledge pledge allegiance to a thin blue line flag. I'm going to give you the context of that. And I think if he saw this, he knew this and just left this part out. If he didn't, I guess he could have been misled. But that was in a time when COVID was just ramping up and the world was shut down. It was in June of 2020. And we're just going virtual. I mean, and we still wanted to engage with the public, so we put things in place to stream our meetings. And it was a process we were learning how to do. This particular day, there was only one thing on the agenda, and that was a closed session where we were talking over some issues with our police chief. He'd had a pretty bad couple of weeks. The George Floyd thing was a tough time for him too. I will never apologize for supporting our police. I did have on my Zoom background a thin blue line flag to give him my moral support. That's why that was there. In hindsight, I did not think it clear through that we had to have an opening ceremony so that we could go into closed session. And I left it up. I should have taken it down because I know that it is triggering to some. Anyway, came time to pledge pledge allegiance, and our staff, doing the best they could, didn't have an American flag ready to go, and it flustered me. And I think I made a comment, and I think the only one that's in the room that knows is the mayor. He was a council member at the time, and hopefully he can verify my statement. But I said something very awkward. I said, I don't have the flag. This is the only flag. I don't think that's an appropriate thing to do. And then we finally got the flag up and we had the pledge and everything was fine. The next week, when I recognized, that it was offensive to some, I apologized that of any offense that I had caused. It was kind of a comedy of errors. It was not me trying to get anybody to pledge the thin blue line flag. Never was. And to say that it is a lie. There was a question about the city flagpole initiative that I ran. I actually supported that. And the interesting thing about it was Taylor, who is bringing this up as a concern, supplied us with the evidence that it was needed. He sent a Supreme Court case, Shurtleff versus City of Boston, that was, City of Boston was, what they had done is they had allowed their city flagpole to become I don't know what the right word is, but a place for public speech rather than government speech. And that's the difference. If you make your flagpole a center for public speech, anybody that wants to put their flag up your pole, you have to let them. I am not a big fan of doing anything that is going to offend people in that way, that you just don't have to do. So, and I was pretty sure that there would be a pretty good size chunk of our population that wouldn't like a MAGA flag up our city flagpole, or a KKK flag, or even an NRA flag, or who knows what people might come up with. And so I like the idea that we keep it a government speech flagpole. It was reaffirmed the year later at the legislature, so our ordinance got superseded anyway. Isn't that right? Was it the next year? Yeah, and it's changing again. So, but anyway, so that was the whole point there. It has nothing to do with me hating gay people. I have gay friends. I don't hate anybody. It's just the fact. I don't agree with everybody, but I don't hate anybody. So that was the issue with that. Is that all of them? Yep, I think that was all. So, Mayor, comments from the mayor.
Not sure I can do much better than what you guys have done tonight, actually. So, thank you everybody for being here. We do find ourselves in challenging times. There's no doubt about it. I would even say maybe unprecedented times. When I am in this job, and I know that I'm just going to speak from my own experience, and I know that there's no one here that has been in this chair or in this position that can understand how this position is. So you'll have to either take my word for it or not. But as your mayor, I want you to know that I hear you. I absolutely 100% hear you. I hear the protests. I hear my name being chanted. I also hear the voice of our immigrant community. I hear it directly and I hear it indirectly. I hear the voices of our immigrant community leaders. Thank you for being here tonight and sharing your perspective. I also hear the voice of my police chief and of my police officers. I also listen to victims. This job puts you in a position where you have to stand up for victims. And I don't have to, I get to. That is an honor to be the person that has to help put these men and women in uniform in a position to help defend people. This might surprise you, but I also need to listen to the other mayors in our county. We are not the only city in this county. We are the biggest city, and we absolutely own and control the lion's share of what happens in this county. And the other mayors in this county are looking to me for leadership, okay? Because the people that live in Ogden don't all sleep and reside and vote and are in Ogden, but the people that come and go from Ogden, our daytime population, some say goes up to 150 each day, 150,000. That's a lot of people from outside of our city too that are coming here to visit. And other mayors are concerned. What are we doing over here? Why are you talking about a resolution when we have things aligned? Okay? And remember that word alignment in a minute. I've also talked with the sheriff. I've met with the sheriff and I've listened to the sheriff. I've also listened to our staff, our CAO, and our fiscal staff, who tell me that a resolution would put over $26 million at risk. Because we've seen that be threatened, sometimes followed through on, and we have a lot of people that are counting on federal funds in this community. And if we don't use our words wisely, we can put serious support and services at risk. I also listen to my conscience. And when I have listened to all of you guys, we seem to always want to focus on the things that we don't agree on. I'm telling you, the one thing that I keep hearing is everybody wants safety. Everybody wants the city to be safe. And I'm not going to say that everybody is speaking from a place of love, because I have heard from many people that are not, frankly. But I have heard from the overwhelming majority of people that are speaking from a place of love. And I'm not going to discount fear. If you say you're afraid, I believe you. It's my job to make sure that we create an environment and make decisions that are protective of you and your safety. And that we're not creating an environment that makes you feel scared. I can't do that if I don't listen. I can't do that if I don't have options. I can't do that if I'm not taking action and constantly apprised of what's going on each and every day. Councilmember Washington, you said that there is no framework for this. I want to respectfully, and I do mean it respectfully, disagree. I do believe we are in unprecedented times, but I do 100% believe there is a framework for where we are, and it's called the Constitution of the United States of America. And I do not say that lightly. I have also heard from everybody that I've heard from that they want me and us to stand up for the rule of law. That's the thing that protects us, you guys. It's my job to make sure I'm listening to you and understanding where you are at, and that I'm using the tools and the framework that's before us to protect you and protect this community. That is my number one responsibility and priority. And I want to make a promise to you that I will never, ever put my political popularity over your safety. I will more than happy set sail on this job before I put the city purposely at risk. That's how serious that responsibility is in this job. That's also how seriously every single one of our men and women in the Ogden Police Department take that. It is a mission and a duty that they have sworn an oath to and have committed their lives to. This is their why. It is their purpose, you guys. They are not the enemy. They are our department, our officers. And when I bring up the framework of the Constitution of the United States of America, I want to reflect on the same conversation in the remarks that I give to every single time we swear in an officer or promote. Every single time we have an event where this message needs to be shared, I want to tell you what I share with them. Because I don't just say things, I make a promise to them. And they make a promise to me. And promises matter to me. I keep my promises. Our police officers are asking to be apolitical. They're not asking me to pick a side. They're asking me to hold them accountable to the rule of law and the Constitution. And I tell them that I make them a promise that I will not politicize you, but you make me a promise too. That you will follow the Constitution of the United States of America as your compass, including the rules and the laws and the policies and the training that leads to the instincts that they have to sharpen every day to make good decisions. What we've seen on TV are things that are happening in a split second. That split second decision is a reflection of the environment that we're putting those officers in. It's my job and my responsibility to not put our city in that environment and not to put our men and women in uniform in that environment. I have never been as worried about creating that kind of an environment until there was talk about this resolution. It is quantifiable that we have a highly professional department. In my view, the best in the state of Utah for sure, but beyond. That's not bias, hearsay, that is quantifiable fact. We just achieved our highest satisfaction rating from our community in the last 10 years. That's a big deal. Our department is not understaffed. We're fully staffed because we've created a culture that they want to be a part of that respects the rule of law and doesn't politicize them for convenience. That's a promise I make to them, and I want to keep it. I'm going to keep it because they made me a promise, and they're going to keep it too. And when they don't, I tell them that having their back has nothing to do with me turning my back. It means giving them everything that they need to succeed, including setting a high expectation and a high standard of performance, and then following up with accountability. And if you don't respect the rule of law, you won't work at OPD. And that's why they keep coming here. We're not making outgoing phone calls to recruit police officers. They're making phone calls coming in because we are committed to the rule of law and the Constitution and ethics and integrity here. And that's what's keeping our community safe right now. I cannot control ICE. I cannot control the president. I cannot control Congress. I cannot control Minneapolis. The only thing I have any kind of control over is our police department. And I'm proud to. So when Cameron challenges me of action versus activism, my action is every day, you guys. I am not just a mayor and a politician. I'm the CEO of a city that oversees a very important department for the safety and future of our city. This is very serious work. If you guys want to work on a resolution, you guys have that ability. I have to have the ability to do my job. A resolution does not codify my job. A resolution is non-binding. That has not been the message that's been put out. And that's why I'm not eager to participate in a resolution, because I can't control how it's being framed and talked about, you guys. And it's very important because it's creating danger in our community when it's misrepresented. These are serious times, very serious. That's why we do not surveil when we have peaceful protest. We absolutely do, however, protect people who are exercising their First Amendment rights. And we will do so unapologetically. We prepare for those events. Thank you, Lieutenant. A lot of work goes in to prepare for those events. Resources that are costing the city a lot of money. We think it's money well spent because we believe in the First Amendment and the rights. We don't have to believe in what people's opinions are in order to stand for that. And it gets back to the apolitical nature of our department. We've also seen the consequences of departments and communities that have not done that preparation. Locally, tragic consequences, world-shaping consequences. I share all of that because I recognize that I have a duty, not just to protect our city, but I also have a duty to communicate to our community. We have wrestled with how to do that. Every single time that I have done it, or we have done it, our words have been misused and manipulated in order to drive a different narrative that's not true, it's not factual, it's not accurate, it's just flat out not honest. I'm not accusing anybody here of that. But it happens. And they're being used to drive wedges, you guys. So when we stand up for you, there's other people that are taking our stand, and using it to harm us. That frustrates me. So yes, I'm very careful with my words on the topic, as I ought to be. Councilmember Graff, you mentioned a resolution in Minneapolis. I would actually argue that it probably contributed to what they're experiencing, because I'm watching very closely on the news and talking to other mayors as well about how the rhetoric ramps up on both sides. And then when rhetoric ramps up on one side, the other side ramps it back up. And then us, the mayors, are stuck in the middle trying to keep the rhetoric down so that we can keep our city safe and our people safe. We're not neutral on this. We're standing for everything when we're doing this. Sometimes it might feel lonely, but that's the job I asked for, and it's an honor to have it. But I want you to know where I'm coming from. I'm not taking this lightly at all. And I know that there are a lot of people that won't believe me. That comes with the job. But I am going to take action after I seek to understand. I'm going to take action based on fact, based on knowledge, based on understanding what's happening and what's not. And the framework before us is not just the Constitution, but nested within that are all of the rules and norms and practices that have existed for a long time. ICE has actually been in our community for a lot of years, you guys. Long time. It's not the same agents that are in Minneapolis, though. So I'm watching what's happening there, and I'm comparing it to our circumstances here. The reason it's working is because I have not turned my back on the victims of our community. And the minute a community turns its back on the rule of law and allows people to harm others criminally, I'm talking about physical harm, sexual harm, property harm, whatever it is. If we allow people to harm one another, we're actually doing the opposite of what I'm being asked. I'm being asked to stand for the rule of law. Well, I'm going to do that when it's politically popular or not popular. I'm going to do it when it's necessary. So we had one instance where we had someone lie to one of our officers about her identity. I know this because I watched the body cam footage, because I'm engaged and I pay attention and I don't make decisions out of nowhere. These guys earned my respect. I didn't just give it to them blindly. And that person lied immediately about her identity and her age, and then was not truthful or forthcoming with the information. And my officers knew there was something wrong. And he was right. That person was wanted by the law with an extradition to Texas, which is a serious offense for drug issues. And she's in our community doing probably bad things here too. She lied for a reason, and our officers knew it. and they used every resource possible to find out who she was to hold her accountable. And the reason that that happened peacefully is because we do have a custodial duty through the county sheriff for all the cities in the county and others. And when someone doesn't have the right to be in this city and in this nation and they're hurting our people, can we all just agree that if you are hurting and harming others, that we should do something about that? That's the difference. I think we've all want that if you're hurting and harming our people, you should be held accountable for that. We can't that's a need. We can't lose sight of that because we're seeing the rule of law be dismissed elsewhere. Okay? But what happens is, because of that arrangement that the county has, we don't work in anything to do with immigration law whatsoever. We focus on criminal behavior. If we see it, we address it. We take them to jail. And there's a peaceful transfer of custody in a controlled environment. And that's how cities across the country for years have kept the peace and the order of our cities. So when I commit to not having a 287G agreement, there's a long history of not needing one, you guys. And it doesn't politicize my officers because we don't have one. It keeps them aligned with the role that they are best at, what they are trained at, which they have the most expertise and the most experience at. And I'm telling you, they are great. And it's my job to make sure I'm not putting them in positions that they're not trained at or prepared for or experienced at. That's my commitment to you. You can believe me or not. You can look for more communication from me moving forward, because I want to make sure that you guys know that we are leading from a place of moral authority and clarity, and also compassion. Councilmember Lopez, you mentioned our Pathway to Citizenship program. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's another city upholding the law or the Constitution with more clarity and more integrity than the Ogden Police Department and Ogden City is. Combined with, I don't think there is another city that's doing a Pathway to Citizenship program like we are. We're about to start our biggest cohort ever. We've been doing it for 3 years, and we can do more. I like that suggestion. We've got 30 people in our community that are deserving of citizenship, and we're going to make that pathway possible for them. And we can do it more. We should. That's the kind of city that we are. And that's moral clarity, and that's an integrity that you can expect from me. And if that's not good enough to continue to serve, I can live with that. But what I won't live with is putting politics above safety. I will stand for your safety. Thank you so much.
Council members, anybody else have more to say?
Mayor Nadowski, so you confirm that Ogden City OPD is not in a 287G agreement. Will you confirm that we will not be in a 287G agreement?
I already did.
I'm just reflecting, and so will you state that back for the record, that we will not go into a 287G agreement?
I've done that on numerous times. Thank you. Yes, we will not. It is not my intention, and we will not be getting into a 287G agreement because I do not see the need for it.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to affirm that I will still move forward with working on the joint resolution to include council members that, well, first of all, in a public process, hopefully when it gets submitted, that it can be discussed during a work session. And so council members that haven't been able to attend meetings with community members, or that would like to share other comments that community members have reached out to them during the work session, as we're looking at the joint resolution together, we can do so. Thank you. Oh, and I also would like to speak into Chair Heyer in regards to, and I forget the date, but July 2020.
June, but yeah. Close.
June. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. In searching for that moment on council recordings, Zoom, it's not available. And so it's not available on the Zoom recording. It just skips over that portion. And so I'm just curious to legal or to how I can find out why that's been scrubbed. So I look forward to that response.
Somebody had access to it. Because you can even see the date in the corner. You can see
Laura,
Thank you, Chair. And this is just a curiosity
Yeah.
because if constituents go and look it up, and it's not
I would have
available
loved to have found it too, because
on our record.
it clears the whole thing up.
So that's, I wanted to state that.
Yeah.
Yep. Chair.
Go ahead.
I want to be clear. Nobody is suggesting that we harbor people who are going to hurt or harm our community. I'm not sure why that is even. I'm not sure why that is even an issue that is being brought up. That is not what a resolution is, and we are also grounded in the Constitution, because what we see with our own eyes is a force entering cities that are violating the First, Second, and Fourth Amendments right before our eyes. So we are also grounded in the Constitution. I want to make sure that this is not a dichotomy here that has been drawn out. And so that is not by any means what is being suggested through resolution. It is merely to codify what has been done here. And it's something that has been done in other cities not too far from here, and that has been important in building community trust. And it is, and that's why we're doing it.
Okay, anyone else? One other thing I forgot to mention, and the mayor reminded me, we started out this meeting with our opening ceremonies where we talked about the America 250 that we're celebrating throughout this whole year. And we're working on trying to do a naturalization ceremony here in the chambers. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to pull it off, but as part of in conjunction with a council meeting, we think that'd be a really cool thing. And so we're working on that, because I think that does send a message to our immigrant community that they are welcome, and that we want them to be full-fledged partners in this city. So those are things I think we're working on. Councilmember Lundell, Councilmember Washington, I like I said before, I don't think motives are a question. It's just what it might mean, and so let's move forward. If you want to, if you do what you think you should do, we'll follow the process. That's what I would suggest. But okay,
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I would like to just acknowledge our friends from Lupeck that are here again and say thanks for sticking with us all night long. You are warriors. But thanks to everybody else too. Thanks to everybody else. I would have loved to hear more from you, but not now. Mr. Chair, move we adjourn.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm not going to ask if there's any opposed. In the opinion of the chair, it was unanimous.